those lines. I don't do coke. I smile a lot though.
The age, I think, eventually does it too. But
and smiling. Yeah. They call them frown lines. I'm like, no, I call them smile lines, motherfucker.
That's a great.
Can we not call them frown lines, you bitch? I'm fine. Welcome to another episode of Guys We Fucked.
It's the anti-slut shaming podcast. I'm Corinne Fisher.
I'm Krystyna Hutchinson.
Welcome to the show. We have so much for you to do. Most importantly, if you want to see us live.
Oh, yeah.
Also that. I mean, that first. And then love yourself, not one. But honestly, it seems like it's going to take a while for a lot of you. And
it's a process.
Don't wait to buy tickets to our shows until you love yourself.
The first show's on September 10th, so we're going to need you to hurry it up. So Atlanta, Georgia, we are going to be co-headlining the Center Stage Theater on September 10th, which is a Saturday.
Yeah.
And then Norwalk, Connecticut, Saturday, September 24th at the Wall Street Theater.
Yeah, and if you're a New Yorker, New Jerseyer, come to the Connecticut gig. We're not playing a theater in New York, playing in Connecticut. So make a trip out of it. It'll be fun.
Yeah, it's really short. I mean, obviously, we're driving in from New York City. It's a beautiful theater, very cute little town.
Yeah.
And then Cleveland, if you're listening to this on Luminary tonight, Friday, the 26th, and tomorrow, the 27th of August, I am headlining Hilarities. So get your tickets. There's 4 shows, 2 shows each night. Thank you so much.
Yay. And, all the other things like rating and reviewing Guys We Fucked and following us on Apple Podcasts. That'd be sick as shit. And follow us on social media. Guys We Fucked without the U and fucked across all platforms, including YouTube and TikTok. I'm at Krystyna Hutch.
I'm at Philanthropy Gal.
And if you want to email us, it's sorryaboutlastnightshow@gmail.com. I welcome you to send us good stories. Just throwing that out there.
We would love those.
Yeah, because, life isn't all bad, but when we only hear about the bad stuff, it makes me sad. So send us some happy things. All right.
The bad emails are funny though.
Not
for you guys, but
the bad ones that are funny. Well, the bad ones that are funny are funny, but there's some bad ones that I'm just like, I'm gonna jump off a roof.
We've had a few tough ones.
Yeah, some of them are just like, I actually don't even know what to do for you.
Yeah, right.
And it always perplexes me. I'm very interested in hearing other people's dilemmas. I mean, if there's one thing that each individual human truly has guaranteed 100%, it's unique stories, and I love hearing about them, but I know you got good ones, so
it's really amazing that you don't have a boyfriend if you love hearing problems.
I know. I'm trying. I love hearing problems.
Good thing you're a heterosexual woman.
Yeah. When I was dating, I fucking listened to his problems and I loved it for 7 years. Honestly, loved it.
Oh my God.
Didn't hate it.
Oh, well,
you listen to my problems.
I have lots of problems to tell you.
Oh, you can tell. I would love to hear about your problems. You don't have to. You borrow mine.
I'll put on a.
How about a threesome?
I'll put on a mustache and just look down at my phone the whole time, and I'll tell you my problems. Role playing.
Oh, that'll feel like home.
And then I'll fart.
Would you?
I might have to bring Alfred to double, but his farts are foul. Alfred farted so bad in bed last night that my eye burned. My eye started burning.
Attaboy.
Are you serious?
Yeah, Alfred's having some real digestive issues, and now I just find little pieces of poop.
Oh man,
it's not great. I'll be like, "What's that smell?" Oh, there's shit in my bed. I've had this guy for 5 years. He's never once had it, but it's not like he's shitting in my bed.
No, but like fragments of poop or
just like little poops. And then also I had to tell the vet that, I'm just like,
Is it like a rabbit turd?
Yeah. Yeah. Just like little poop balls. Just,
oh my God.
Hey boys, you want to come over?
I want to sleep in my bed with my poopy dog.
And I have black sheets, so sometimes you don't find them till too late.
Oh God.
It's not been a good summer. But you know what? The tarot said it wasn't gonna be. So
the tarot said so.
The tarot said it wasn't going to be, so what should I have expected?
Damn it, tarot, you did it again. Oh, the devil's cards, huh?
There's something so angering about when the tarot is right, You go, must just be a coincidence.
Well, when the psychic told me I was molested, I was like, let me go to the tarot real quick. And the tarot kind of was like, I think you were touched, girl. I forget exactly what card I pulled, but I was like specifically like, was I molested as a child? But so the tarot is pretty accurate.
It's all knowing.
Well, the thing is, okay, but astrology. So my most recent boyfriend was the first Libra I've ever dated. I am a Libra.
Ooh.
That to me said astrology is not real.
Why?
Couldn't be more different. And also my brother and my mom are both Libras. So I grew up with Libras.
What?
Yeah. We're not. My brother is one of the
Libras.
Yeah, my
That does
brother
not make
is one
sense.
of the most different people. Like if only my mom and I were Libras, I could understand that because my mom and I are similar enough that it would make sense. Plus, she's an October Libra. I'm a September Libra.
Is Petty Libra? Because I know a lot of Libras. Petty as shit.
Yeah, because Cardi B, I believe, is a Libra.
Oh, very petty. Yeah.
I believe. I have to. Kim
Do you want me
Kardashian.
to research? I can check.
Yeah,
it out.
I think Kim Kardashian is a
we
Libra.
can do shit on the internet. Why don't we do that more?
Is Cardi B
Look
a
it up,
Libra?
Michael.
Kim Kardashian's a Libra, and I think that makes sense for us because she overworks herself and doesn't seem to have any fun.
Right.
Or if she does, it's like orchestrated.
Or it's on
and I
Pete
feel
Davidson's
that.
dick.
Yeah.
Well, was.
Yeah. I can understand that. I don't.
Cardi
How do
B
you date
is
someone
a
after-
Libra.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought so. What date?
It doesn't say.
A lot of interesting people also were born September 27th because besides Stephen Jenkins, there was some other person I just saw that was September 27th, like a female actress or something. And I was like, oh, I love her.
No.
I always like Libras. Madeline
me
Kahn is the same exact birthday as me.
You know Madeline Kahn's birthday?
Yeah, well, because it's the
It's
same
her
as
birthday.
mine.
Amazing.
And also, when I thought Tim Curry might be straight,
Oh, I thought
allegedly, Chad, he hasn't. You can't, out anyone who is. I mean,
he's not?
Just read.
Whatever you are, we love you.
He doesn't
so it
really
doesn't
talk
matter.
about it. I mean, at most, I would say bisexual. Definitely sucked some dick before, though.
Nice.
But he, I thought him and Madeline Kahn had a dalliance, and that the fact that we shared a birthday, I was like, it gives me hope that I can one day be with my one true love, Tim Curry.
I get it. Well, he's not doing great now.
I'd fuck him in a wheelchair.
Right. Not really the wheelchair part. It's the cognitive abilities.
Well, no, he's still, he signed an autograph to me recently.
Yeah, you don't got to be that
In the
cognitive
mail.
for that.
It's more like he had a stroke, so he's partially paralyzed.
3D.
I don't know that his cognitive abilities.
Oh, you know what? I think I'm thinking of Dick Clark because one year I just saw him on New Year's and he did not
That's a whole.
sound.
Isn't he dead?
I think Dick
Yeah,
Clark
he
is
did
no longer
die.
with us.
But
Yeah,
he did die.
I think so.
But before he died, he had a stroke, and I wasn't aware he had a stroke, and I was like, New Year! Oh my God, what's wrong with Dick Clark?
I'm pretty
He had
sure
a
Dick
stroke.
Clark was an asshole too.
Really?
So it doesn't matter. Tim Curry, very nice.
Yeah, that's good.
Very good
That's
person.
Good. You can't be in fucking all the movies he's been in and being. Well, I guess he could. I don't know. Anyway, email us. sorryaboutlastnightshow@gmail.com. That's the address. Make the subject line, something that'll catch our eye. This one certainly did. My best friend's boyfriend vowed to me to devote the rest of his life to her just to avoid telling her he cheated.
Okay.
Jesus
All right.
Christ. Hi, Krystyna and Corinne. I've been listening religiously for almost 6 years now, and to say I appreciate everything you do is a massive understatement. Listening to you guys helped me find the confidence to in myself to come out and start living more authentically and to start therapy when I hit a pretty serious bout of depression during COVID. Nice. Happy to hear it. Not the depression, but that you're getting help for yourself. I'm a 25-year-old lesbian living in New York. I've been good friends with, we'll say her name is Kate, since college, and she's been dating, let's say, Mark since their freshman year. Been together for 8 years. They're both 26. Oh God, that's never gonna work. Or it will. A few months ago, a bigger group of girls that we were friends with in college went upstate for the weekend. During the weekend of drunken gossip, I found out through one of the other girls that her friend Olivia had sex with Mark twice during college, once sophomore year and once again senior year. The cheating had apparently been kept tightly under wraps until now, since Olivia only told the one friend when it happened, and Mark had told Olivia he deeply regretted it at the time and that it was a huge mistake, blah, blah, etc. But now there's a small group of people that know everything. I wasn't that surprised about the cheating. I know from Kate's perspective that her and Mark's sex life has always been lackluster. Then why are they getting married? Don't be together. She's said a few times that she worries about cheating on him in the future. People really don't want to break up. Jesus Christ. Because she finds herself more attracted to other men, and she and Mark only have sex about once a month despite living together.
Put that in your vows.
Just play this video. That being said, they are hell-bent on getting engaged in the next year. Oh, society.
Well, it's because I was watching a lot of relationship videos last night. And like one of the major three things like in a relationship is like time invested. So I think that's they're suffering from time invested.
Okay.
Yeah. Since they both came from significant wealth, which I think plays a big role in how people view marriage, they both seem to be under a lot of No, if I was rich, I'd be like, peace out, bitch.
They're probably old money though. So it's like they're making the family look bad. It's like
Good.
It's a life we don't know. Yeah.
My family, they're
not Jersey strong.
Yeah.
No,
Definitely
not at all. They both seem to be under a lot of pressure from their respective families to tie the knot soon. There have been a few engagement scares already this summer as they've engagement scares. That's how I want to say he almost proposed to my friend. There was an engagement scare.
I love that. I'm always going to call it an engagement scare.
That should be on a card. Happy engagement scare.
Oh,
good thing you dodged it, huh?
That's so good.
There have been a few engagement scares already this summer as they've taken vacation after extravagant vacation with their parents and grandparents. Yeah, that's old money. I've been considering the options as possible outcomes since finding out about all of this, and I've been talking it over with another close friend that knows the situation. We both care deeply about Kate and know being cheated on by Mark would strike at some of her deepest insecurities. Well, maybe they're ones she has to look at. She also struggles with her self-worth and confidence and has recently been experiencing some stomach issues that make her feel less sexy. About a month ago, Kate was out of town, and Mark and I ended up being the last ones at the bar after a night out. I was a little drunk and ended up telling him I and a few other people knew he hooked up with Olivia and that he should be aware and get ahead of it before Kate finds out from someone else. That's a good friend. None of us want to be the ones to tell her, nor do we feel like it's any of our responsibility. You're right. So I figured a calm heads up would encourage him. A calm heads up. We all know what you did.
A whispered threat.
We all talked about you on our weekend away and how you cheated on your would-be wife. It's okay. Calm heads up would encourage him to come clean so they can move forward. It's been years since he cheated now, so him coming clean feels important from the perspective of honesty rather than the cheating itself. I mean, this isn't your relationship. P.S.
Yeah.
When I said that he got really serious and pale and nervous, and basically said that someone finding out about his cheating was his absolute worst fear.
Well, that's no way to live.
Yeah. That he would never tell Kate because it would hurt her too much, that he would carry this guilt with him for the rest of his life and devote the rest of his life to making her happy, but he can't even make her come.
Good one, girl.
It's a straight woman's dilemma. We can't choose our sexuality, kids. I wouldn't choose this. I personally don't think cheating is the end of the world. It's the lying and taking the secret to the grave that feels super wrong to me. I know my friend...
No, if you're going to cheat like once or twice, you definitely don't tell.
Yeah, shut the fuck up. I know my friend would want me...
Ago.
Yeah. You already got away with it. Don't fucking... But you don't want to be together. Anyway, I know my friend would want me to tell her so she can make a more informed decision about marrying this guy once she has all the facts. All the facts that she needs is that she doesn't want to fuck him anymore. Them's is the facts.
Yeah, you never have all the facts about a person anyway. Like, tell me, like, can you imagine a Lifetime movie where a woman has all the facts about her husband?
Never.
Boring, snooze fest.
Yeah. Where's the mystery in that, huh?
Come on.
I want to be on my toes. Instead of him deciding what she gets to know, withholding information that he knows would influence her opinion of him and her decision to get engaged to him. Again, they don't even want to fuck each other.
Yeah.
I have absolutely no idea where to go from here and need some advice. I don't think it's my business to tell Kate about the cheating, but I also can't just watch her get engaged to a guy that wants to wallow in some faux chivalrous performance for the rest of his life because he doesn't have the balls to come clean or face his own family.
I mean, you're also trying to be chivalrous.
See, I would allow them to get engaged and then say something at the wedding. I don't know.
No, you don't do that.
I don't know when they plan. I'm just being silly. I don't know when they plan to get engaged, but they've been ring shopping together a few times. If I do nothing, there's a chance she finds out about all of this later on and is upset with me for not saying something sooner, especially since she comes to me for advice a lot And I'm someone who can vent to about Mark, so I feel really untrustworthy keeping this secret from her too. Sincerely, thank you for your guidance here. P.S. I followed you on everything before deleting all social media back in April, but made my girlfriend listen to the Amber Heard episode with multiple times and send your content around to people like it's fucking gospel.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for listening.
See, lesbians know, a lot of lesbians were on Amber Heard's side, or not even on her side, but sniffed through the Johnny Depp bullshit, because when you're not blinded by your sexuality, you think more clearly.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah.
Imagine that, huh?
Johnny Depp's not even hot anymore, guys. He looks like he works at a TGI Fridays. He has so much flair on. It's embarrassing.
Flair.
He looks like he's been sitting in a river for a while.
Yeah.
He looks swollen.
He never heard that Coco Chanel saying once before you leave the house, look in the mirror and take one thing off. He's like,
or if you're Johnny Depp, take 8 things off.
Yeah. He puts 3 things on.
Yeah.
He's like, can I wear 2 hats?
He has a bowl of things that he adds to his wardrobe before he leaves.
Another skull ring.
But this isn't about Johnny Depp and his cock skull rings. This is about this listener and her friend who's fucked. She needs to come to terms. No one's being honest with themselves. There's a lot of lying motherfuckers out there in this world. And you know what? You lying to yourself. A lot of people be lying to themselves, and this is a clear example of 2 people lying to themselves for the sake of family and this is what we do, and this is how we do things, and this is how we do. My granddaddy's rich, and we get married, son.
Yeah,
fuck that shit. How about you be the brave one to stop doing what you don't want to do and live your goddamn life? And Mark should go be out there getting pussy. And Olivia, is that her name? Yeah, her fake name's Olivia. Hopefully it's fake.
No, Olivia's the girl.
Olivia's the other girl.
With.
Kate should be getting some dick. And they don't want you got
Olivia got some dick.
Olivia did get some dick. Yeah. This is tricky because if I'm Kate, if I'm the writer, Kate's coming to me venting to me about Mark. If I don't, this fucking douchebag, it's not going to work. It's just not going to work. And honest to God, I would have a really hard time not saying anything. I would just say, now I'm put in this position where I'm being closeted for this info. I can't be honest about this information that's really big, and it's tearing me apart because part of our bond is honest communication about your relationship, and I'm a safe place to vent.
But I mean, the writer, number one, shouldn't have found out. So that's that's just an annoying thing that she knows. The writer shouldn't have found out. Too many people in the friend circle know it's going to come out one time when someone gets drunk. And there's no way it's not.
If they do get married, though, I really do think it's going to come out at the wedding. Not someone's going to go, does anybody think they shouldn't be wed? Yes. Someone's just going to get wasted and go, oh man, I'm so glad you guys made it after Mark fucked Olivia.
Yeah, remember when he fucked her?
Yeah, that possibly will, especially because Olivia's still in the picture in the friend group. So that's very dangerous. That being said, writer, it's not, you cannot force Mark to tell her, because I actually... the problem here is that everyone knows. If I was Mark, though, I also wouldn't tell Kate, because the cheating happened so long ago. It was super isolated and seems to just be some things that happen in college, which is just what happens when you get in a serious relationship when you're so young. I actually don't think it's that big of a deal. I don't think it needs to end the engagement. That's not why it needs to engagement. So what I think you have to do, since you number one, obviously love sticking your nose in other people's business. And then number 2, since you feel a sense of guilt, is that you need to kind of talk to Kate a lot about the fact that she doesn't feel sexually satisfied. Yeah. And use that as the in to try and convince her that there's someone better out there for her. But so you just have to use a different entryway. You can't use the cheating though. That's really not your place.
But if I was Kate and I knew that the writer knew and didn't tell me,
but that's misplaced anger that would be because of the patriarchy, etc.
I mean, I wouldn't be like, I'm never talking to you. It wouldn't be like that. I'd be like, fuck, I really would have wanted that information. It's not even that I would be mad. It was that man, I really wish I had that information. Yeah. I'd rather have heard it. I don't know. I think people think they want to know things until they know them, and then their whole world falls apart. It's just not the writer's place. Right. It's not the writer's place. And if she's angry at anyone, it should be at Mark. Yeah. And again, it was so long ago. Maybe writer, you could have a conversation with Olivia. But I think it's inappropriate to tell Kate.
I do.
Yeah, because there's no good way to say it. It feels rotten, I guess.
Just to respond to what Krystyna was saying, have you ever gotten bad intel from a friend?
Bad intel?
Yeah, that like they were. I have. I have gotten information in my last relationship that I turned into a big problem that was wrong information from somebody who was like a third party.
Oh.
And we got into this big fight, and I was
With your partner?
yes, I was dead to rights wrong.
Wow.
Now, I'm not saying that happened here. I'm sure if Mark is
obviously,
cheated.
well, Mark admitted it to the writer.
But I mean, like, that's why I think it's so hard to get mad at a friend for not telling you something. Because at least in my experience,
It's a tough position.
I could have avoided a whole like sleeping on the couch situation for a little bit.
Right.
If I didn't get mad at Flowers showed up to our apartment once and they were from her dad.
Oh, I remember that incident.
There's two Flowers.
Did you not see the cards? The card that said "Love Dad"?
Well, I didn't look at the card because I felt like it was her. It felt invasive, so I didn't want.
So you just got mad instead.
Yes, and then a friend of ours.
That's not good.
A friend.
You didn't
of ours,
go. Who are those from?
No, like so we were. Like
I would have read that card the second it entered my apartment.
No, because it was
usually, you know,
we
unless
were
you take it out of an envelope.
We were in the process of breaking up. This was like the first push for the breakup. So we were kind of like, it's okay if we go on a date or with other people. We'll just like we're figuring out if we're gonna break
And then
up.
Mike said, "Flowers are too much, though."
Flowers are pretty
because
intimate,
they're
but from your dad.
because it's our apartment. It came to where we both lived, so it felt
Right.
disrespectful. But I didn't read the card.
That was
'cause
a Jersey in you.
That's why I would say read the card. You both live there.
But it's
What if the flowers were for you?
they weren't. No, they
It's
weren't
illegal
for
to
me.
read other people's mail.
Yeah,
technically.
it
Is the
felt
card
invasive.
on a bouquet of flowers mail?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's like a private. It's like reading somebody's text messages to me.
Right.
But basically, I thought a guy had sent them to our apartment. I probed somebody that was friends with both of us if they knew what I was like complaining, and then this friend said,
Is it the friend I think it is?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's a friend who said that she went on a date with some guy. He put her in an Uber.
I mean, it's your fault for believing that person.
I know. But so she had this whole thing that was like,
Where did she get this information? This made up shit.
she kind of made an assumption. She was wrong. She made an assumption, and then I basically woke up and scorched earth. And then my ex was like, "You can read the card if you want. The flowers are from my dad because I was sick and like whatever." And she was like,
Oh wow.
Oh, I thought it was the male friend. I know the female. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
So
Okay.
it was like, but again,
That's
I got
tricky.
bad intel, so I'll never like jump to.
So
like,
when you went to your girlfriend at the time, you didn't go, "Who are those flowers from?" You said, you just accused her?
yeah, I sent her this long text, like one of these.
Oh,
and it
no,
was like,
Michael.
It was like, you've got some fucking balls.
Oh
letting
my
some guy
God, Michael.
send flowers to our
Michael.
apartment. And I was
Oh, you were wrong.
100%
Oh, that
dead to rights wrong.
sucks, donkey dicks, dude.
100% right. It was like,
I
it was
hate
like,
that.
It was like, I'm sorry you're feeling under the weather. I know these will cheer you up. Love, Dad. And I was like,
Your dad's a piece of shit. Fuck your dad. Well, I hope you're not fucking your dad.
That's so funny.
That's why you can't fully trust everything that somebody says. I know
Right.
there's situations.
Right.
So
I
you
mean,
shouldn't unload the cannons on your
Well, this is
friend.
also very. I mean, I feel like. To know like the exact years that they fucked, who it was, and where it happened seems like a lot of information.
Perhaps. I mean, that's one way to look at it.
Yeah. I think Mike just wanted to get that story off his chest.
He seemed every week, and it's always just
so it's just
so you,
like
the
me. So
listeners,
with
know.
Lex, when Lex was at my house,
Every story is about the same woman that Mike tells. There's not been one fucking story you heard that was not about the same woman.
you know, we talk about women really making their mark in the world. She did. She made her mark on you, boo.
There's only one.
I mean, I really can't even say anything because over the course of this podcast, I've only had stories about two people and mostly the second one.
Yeah, right.
So,
Oh yeah, no, I'm full of shit too, so it's fine.
Yeah.
I mean,
We're all trying.
Yeah.
there's
We all just want love. That's the common thing.
I feel like that we all have like there's like the one that got away, and then like there's the one that ruined the person
Everything.
we were.
Yes.
Is that?
The person who cut
I
you
have-
down at your knees.
I've never had a one that got away ever. I was always like, come back. And then they ran away and I was like, yeah, that's probably for the best.
I don't know. I mean,
I didn't even like you really to begin with. Why I was upset.
the one that got away. I feel like I maybe have like a one that got away. I don't know.
I don't feel that about anybody I've ever met. My goal for 2023
I'm rubbing off on you. Yeah. That's nice.
You're about to say your goal for 2022 is to find the one that got away?
Yeah. Or
let him get away.
Is to meet one and then he can get away if he wants. Maybe it'll teach me a lesson. I don't know. Whatever. I'm willing to learn.
Yeah. Well, also for this email, this Mark, the fact that it's just like this secret is eating away at him, that is going to manifest itself in the relationship in bad ways. He's going to get angry.
Also, if you're keeping the secrets and kept feelings like this turn into fucking disease. And it's not even woo-woo to say, like it just does. So
Mark should also maybe go to a therapist and talk this out. Before he proposes. Like, so you couldn't suggest something like that.
I hope they don't.
You just can't. I would really say you just can't tell Kate on your own. That's my only thing. There's a lot of things you can. I think there's a lot of things you can do behind the scenes. But I just really, I mean, listen, do what you want, and you're going to, and people are going to disagree with my stance on that. But I don't think you can.
I agree, because I can't imagine a way of telling her that doesn't feel kind of cruel and shitty. Like when I go in my head to go sitting down a friend and saying that.
It also could backfire.
And then I'm reminded that it's not my fucking job and it's not my relationship.
Yeah.
Whenever I wind up overly interested in a friend's relationship, even if it's because her guy is cheating on her, I'm like, I need my own life a little bit. So like I always like I notice myself kind of getting sucked up in like a friend's thing every once in a while in my life. I don't usually do that, but whenever I do, I'm like, is there something I'm not looking at in my life? You know?
Right. Yeah. And it could backfire because like you're a lesbian, so you can't underestimate
the stupidity of men.
Well, and also the mindset of the heterosexual woman, because you are so convinced that Kate loves you so much, she comes to you for advice.
Right. Look at her with the angles.
But I would say, you'd be surprised how many times your heterosexual female friend will turn on you when the choice is between her long-term male partner and you.
That'd be and that would be a bummer.
Yeah, and think about it. Like, man. in her mind, put yourself into Kate's perspective. This is the only, prospect in her mind that she has right now for marriage, for the life that she sees for herself. Whereas you're just some lesbian friend.
Swimming in the pussy.
But for real.
Enjoy it, girl.
There's a million friends. And like the reality is there's not a million friends. But I think especially when you're in a really long-term relationship that feels so high stakes and you're young, you do feel like I could just get another friend, because when you're in your 20s, you can just get another friend. But then you get in your 30s and you go, I don't have any friends. Where are all my friends? They're married and they have kids. That's what, unless you're a comedian, and then you just have a bunch of,
if you're me,
then you just have a bunch of people around who you go, I don't think anyone I know is a good person.
Look up to you at all in any way. Wow.
Does anyone have a moral compass?
Perhaps I should have friends I respect. Is that a requirement to have a good life?
Yeah.
We'll see.
Is anyone I know dating someone their age? Well, except for me. I don't count.
Corinne Fisher, I don't count.
Well, it's. I was so triggered by Demi Lovato's 1729 this week, and I go,
that's about Wilmer Valderrama.
It's about Wilder Valderrama. Oh no, not allegedly. I mean, Paris Hilton sat him down and was like, "Hey, remember when you went fucking Demi Lovato?" It was uncomfortable, and I loved it. And like so that's the same age difference, but just like at very different points,
time periods
in their life.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And also,
oopsies.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I think Demi Lovato has like lots of earlier songs that are about when she was happy with Wilder Valderrama.
But when you're 17 and the guy's 29,
no, I mean I don't think she wrote them when she was 17, but she wrote them like in her earlier 20s or whatever. But yeah, I appreciate Demi Lovato for the fact that she is not afraid to have a very public mental breakdown almost every week.
I love it.
Whenever she feels like it.
If we needed a third co-host, I guess fourth now, because if we needed a fourth person on this table, Demi Lovato, Scooter Braun, call us, because Demi Lovato would rock this.
Girl, I will cry with you on the streets. I break down every day.
She'd be shaving her head on camera. I mean, I love it. Just everything about it.
I would yes and the shit out of that.
Yeah. So
open invite, baby.
Yeah.
All right. Guys, you're going to come see us live in Atlanta, Saturday, September 10th. You're going to see us live Saturday, September 24th in Norwalk, Connecticut. And then we plugged our dates. Rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. YouTube.com/Guys We Fcked without the U and fuck. That's where you're going to get the Dumb Bitch Woo Hour. That's where you're going to get our special day. That's where you're going to get Did That Help, where we field your advice. Very exciting stuff happening. What's happening in your world, Corinne?
That was so good, Krystyna. That was really good.
Oh, you.
Well, yeah, I've been avoiding talking about this for a while because I didn't know how I felt about it. And I've been, incredibly depressed this year because of my dad, which I didn't feel as much last year. I think when someone is so sick and emaciated and, literally, disappearing in front of your eyes when they first pass away, there's a real, there's a sense of relief, of course, for them, for you, for, going to hospice, 5 times a week and, having interactions with your dad who doesn't know he's your dad, but he's still your dad to you.
Yeah.
And listen, we had fun. I actually have very positive memories about hospice besides the physical, way that my dad looked. That was very hard to look at. Well, we had good times, he
was funny till the end, man.
Yeah. And I mean, even there was a couple times when whatever went wrong, when he would be aggressive, but he never scared me because my dad is, was characteristically such a gentle person that I never, sweet. Even when he grabbed my arm, I was like, I'm gonna fucking kill you. I was like, Dad, no, you're not,
Silly.
I was like, you can't get up from the bed, Dad. So you're not. But it was fun times mostly all around. And it's, my first experience with someone with, severe brain damage.
Which is
so it's it's really you get angry, you think people are coming for you, you recognize people sometimes, pieces of your memory will come back. I mean, you're sexually attracted to members of your family. You say there's a lot of stuff to unpack there, and I've been talking about it on stage in my jokes, and obviously making everyone uncomfortable because no one can deal with anything serious, which is why everyone's in the state that they're in. And it's also so annoying because it's well, I'm not talking about your serious thing. I'm talking about my serious thing, and if I can talk about it, then why the fuck can't you talk about it? Anyway, so I mean, obviously people are like, where's Dylan? What happened to Dylan? I mean, it didn't kill him. He's alive. Yay! You hear that, Chad? He's not a hostage. He's around if you follow him. And so I mean, I broke up with Dylan in March, which a long time ago.
Impressive.
What?
That you just can keep stuff to yourself like that. It's just it doesn't spill out. You're contained with it.
And it isn't. I mean, it's not like it's I didn't go through a lot of emotions in my own apartment.
Right.
I honestly didn't go through a lot of emotions until recently because, and I was talking with my therapist about this. The reason I broke up, he didn't do anything wrong, nothing. I'm not mad at him. I don't think he's a bad person. Quite the opposite, actually. In many ways, it was one of my favorite relationships that I've ever had.
That's nice.
And it was and also, very meaningful because it was the first time I had been in love since James. And so
huge,
which was 2018. And I don't even honestly know if I can say I still love James in 2018 because things had gotten so bad towards the end. But then I, had such a, I mean, that was the, we thought the Frank breakup was bad. I mean, Frank was, throughout not a bad person in any way.
James said, hold my beer.
Well, and kind of when I talk about, I've mentioned a couple times, and I remember saying this to James because, James and I were in a constant dick swinging thing because we were so similar in so many ways. And that's why I loved him so much because I love myself. So I loved him because we were similar. And I remember saying to James, when it started to get toxic towards the end, I was like, well, no one can hurt me the way that Frank hurt me. And then he literally did say, hold my beer.
Yeah.
So
he sent you a meme that
and you know what?
Hold my beer.
You win.
Congrats.
It's a terrible, no one wants to win.
Yeah, I mean, I think he won the battle. I doubt he's going to win the war, but who knows? We don't know what's going to happen. Well, we don't, I think the war is it depends on what happens,
Maybe.
I have no idea what's going on in his life. And and I don't care, and I haven't cared in like a year or so, which is great.
Nice, that's nice.
And And so it was weird and new because I had been in relationships since, but I never was in love or said I love you to any of those people. And there are people who I do love, like Corn Guy. I love Corn Guy. Corn Guy is a close friend. I love
Corn Guy, yeah.
I really like him, and I feel so, and I'm actually glad we didn't date any longer because then it probably would have gotten messy. And especially with like the way our breakup went was not good. Corn Guy and I, it's a real testament to like his character that he's still so open to being friends with me. It was just like, I don't know. It was he's
a sweet person.
Yeah. I like him a lot and I hope to be friends with him for, the rest of time. And so it was weird to be in love again, but also to be in love when you're going through so much personal pain. And, I started dating Dylan literally, I think it was, I looked back at it. I think it was like 2.5 weeks after my dad had died, like very soon after. And obviously when you go into, at the time I was 35, he was 23. At the time when a 23-year-old asks you out, you're just like, oh, this is gonna be like light and fun. And like, I never really even thought he would be my boyfriend.
Right.
I just thought it would be like a fun time. And I was like, you know what? That's exactly what I need right now. I need someone to like go to an arcade with and eat candy with.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
And that's what we did.
And fuck.
That's
because I was going to say you could take me, but we won't fuck. So.
Yeah. And that's like what we did. Also, you don't like chewy candy.
I hate gummy stuff.
I know. It's my favorite. Yeah. And so that's what we did for a lot of the end of 2021. And so things like were really great. And I was surprised, obviously the first I think it was like basically like the 2 weeks right after my dad died, I was like in my apartment, didn't speak to anyone. And almost immediately when I emerged, Dylan had hit me up. And this is someone I knew kind of through, working at Gas Digital, but not more than like, hey,
passing.
What's up? You know, and he had like at one point, like, because he needed my number for merchandise, like taken a funny selfie and saved his name in my phone, which
that's cute.
Yeah. He like claims that I used to flirt with him. And I was like, I swear to God, I did not.
Yeah.
Like that would have been a conscious thing.
Right.
I was like, I think I just have like, Libra personality, which is like sexual and flirty.
Yeah. You have sexual energy.
Yeah. Well, because I can't be nice. So instead I'm flirty.
Right.
So, I mean, it's like basically you replace it. So that's what I'm doing just because I don't really know to be like nice. So I just flirt. And then in the holidays were actually fine, and then January and February were like, I would say two of the probably the most excruciating mental times I've ever had in my entire life. Like so bad. I don't even know how I got through those. And I was in my bed a lot. For like 12, 14 hours a day. And my health, and then also my autoimmune disease, because I was so depressed and all this kind of stuff.
Probably worse.
Was just fucking out of control.
Yeah.
I was so bad. And I was communicative about this throughout the process, but there's only so many times you can text someone, especially like when they weren't there for the sickness and the death. They never saw my dad. They haven't been through it themselves. They haven't been through, I don't think, really any death themselves because they're young.
Right.
And I'm thankful that they haven't. It's a hard thing to convey, especially when that person maybe has anxiety or depression or bouts of that themselves, which most comedians do.
And if their reaction when something's hard is to be closer, when your reaction is I need space,
and that's exactly
two valid reactions, but that's not mesh. They don't mesh.
Yeah, and I tried so I would always I never wanted to like not say like just not answer, because I know times people have dated people who were depressed, whether it be clinically or situationally. Mine was situational. And they just like would be like, yeah, like my boyfriend like just doesn't, like I won't hear from him for 3 days. So I never did that. I was always responsive, even if it was like maybe took me a couple hours longer to respond to a text than like normal Corinne would. But I was always responsive, and I would always be like, I'm having a tough day. But there's like, I feel like even for the worst situation, and if you're in a relationship, there's only so many times that you can text someone like I'm having a bad day. But like when you have 60 days straight of bad days, I mean, I knew, and I'm like, I usually push myself as far as I can and like really show up even when maybe I shouldn't. Yeah. But I had promised myself when my dad was sick that I would be nice to myself after.
Yeah.
It's so hard. I mean, I still cry like almost every day. It's so bad. Yeah. And so I just was like, and then I had this extra weight on me that was like, you're being a terrible girlfriend. You're not showing up for this person at all. And I felt extra bad because he's so young. So I felt more of an obligation to like show him what a good relationship looks like.
Right.
And it's probably, was my worst showing in a relationship. Because
Which your worst is.
I wasn't there.
Pretty good
I just was
still.
like in a different zone, you know?
Yeah.
And I think in my first couple months, like I really was there. Because I was having fun and it was like refreshing and it was the first time I had fun in so long.
Right.
So so it was like, dramatic. It was dramatic for me. So I can only imagine what it was like for, a person who's not feeling their feelings in their own body. So I'm sure it was like very dramatic and jarring for him to have like two different people, basically, like, someone who was like fun and like, let's go out and like, let's, go on a trip and let's go to Costa Rica, and stay in like luxurious rooms and all this kind of stuff. And then to, as soon as New Year's hits, to just be like, like a zombie.
Yeah, you're reacting to grief in a different way now. Because it ebbs and flows.
Yeah,
right?
There was just also something very painful about like, that was like, I was like, this is the first year, I'm starting a year without my dad. And when you think about it, you're like, I've never started a year my whole life without my dad.
You're right. And he's your favorite person.
Yeah.
That's your guy. Like your dad, you were so close with your dad. Like you treasured him. Like that's another layer. Not everybody treasures their dad.
No, that's for sure. And we see it on Instagram.
Yes, we do.
Jesus.
Sometimes we see the dads like, I'm not treasured because I'm not showing up.
Good Lord. Yeah. And so it was just like overwhelmed. I would just be in bed and I would just be like so sad about my dad. And then on top of it, I would just feel so shitty about not like making him feel shitty, making me feel shitty. And so I was like, I have to break up with this person.
Yeah.
And like I didn't like plan. I just like it was just something in the back of my head, and I was like, he's not doing anything wrong, but it's like, and also the way you
only have so much energy, right?
He's the kind of person who would want to like sit and like hold me, but I'm like, that's not me,
right?
And I try to explain that, I was like, because he was like, I'm trying to be here for you. And I was like, you're trying to be here for me in the way that
he needs.
You would want me to be there for you, not the way that I'm asking you to be there for me, which is
one of the hard works.
Not be in my fucking apartment.
Right. And that's one of the things about relationships. So like the moments in relationships that really show you, oh, I need to compromise. Like when people have coworkers and they work in an office, like that always boggles my mind because like people have different ways of existing, and to even be coworkers, you can butt heads, but to be in a romantic relationship where one person receives and gives love one way and it's the opposite of the way the other person is, you're gonna be surfaced with your insecurities or your I'm not good enough, if they exist, which a lot of people have them. So it's like it's ripe ground for like misunderstandings in a time where you're already hurting.
Yeah. And also, even if like the ways like cuddling me is really never gonna be like the answer. Like I'll cuddle when I'm in a good mood.
Yeah.
When I'm in a bad mood, I don't really want to be touched. And it's also like it would be things like acts of service was very helpful, and like Dylan was like great. He would like he like made Alfred's birthday party so wonderful. He like dressed up as Santa. I mean he was made a reservation for Valentine's Day, which I know the bar is so fucking low.
I know,
guys.
but that's
the bar
great.
is so low.
Hey,
but
that's nice.
I appreciated it, and I again just like to show those things to show up in someone so young, I think was like great.
That's lovely.
Sign.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, you're gonna be like an incredible like not that he's not an adult, but like you guys know what I mean. Like you're gonna be an incredible manlier man.
You're not, as a man, you are not an adult when you're under 30.
Yeah, and I agree. And I think the 20s is time to lean into your kid's side and figure out who you are. So, and he has kid energy, which I love. Like I get
kid
that.
energy. And it's just gets creepier the more I talk about it.
I have kid energy. I mean, it's fine.
And and so I mean, basically, I just had, I was like, it was just like haunting me. I was like, I didn't know, like, I didn't, looking in retrospect, like, I just wouldn't have gotten in a relationship. I wouldn't have gone on that date. I wouldn't have done any of these things. But like, you know, in my own defense,
Aren't you glad you did?
My dad never died before, so I don't know how
that kind of only happens once.
I would not know how to. I didn't know what I was going to be like. I didn't know how I was going to handle it. And a lot of outside parties, and again, I should never listen to literally anything that anyone says except for myself, was that, you know, like, oh, it'll be great to be in a relationship. It'll be very helpful. They'll help you through that. But
it can be.
Like, but it's also like, you know, to sign up at the start of it, like, you know, I think that's like too much of a burden to bear for anybody. It's too much.
Well, and also too, like when you're younger, I feel like too, if he gets attached in the beginning part of your relationship was really fun and really like, oh, let's do like this weird, cool shit and like be kids together and have your own little world together, which is like the most beautiful part of a fucking relationship. And then when that changes, it's it's like the last thing, like as your friend, I'm like, oh my God, don't get mad at Corinne for like grief. You don't even know what day to day, right? Like grief, I've heard, it's very unpredictable.
It's very, you know, they always say grief is not linear, and I mean that's 100% accurate.
I hear that a lot about grief.
So they'll just, you know, and it was like as unexpected, because once you get past it, you think whatever. But I mean, like for me, it was like really up until the 1 year mark was like pretty fucking brutal. I cried every day, I would say, for 10 months. The last 2 months leading up to the getting to a year, it was more intermittent. And then, you know, and now the emotions I'm feeling is basically, so what happened was, you know, so I dumped him, and it was not my best dumping. It was, we had actually a really good night, which we were like, fuck.
Yeah.
But I think we were like, I don't know what the hell was happening, but I just like, you know, like the thing about me is like, I feel like I'll feel it in my body, like like physically, like like I'm in a cage and I have to get out, and I have to get out now. Even sometimes when people are at my house too long, like visiting, like there'll be a time when I'm like, okay, you guys gotta leave now and I'll clean everything up. Like, and they have to be out like that moment. I can't explain it.
I get that. Yeah.
Go.
I'm just like,
totally get
literally, like put your cup half drank on the table and please exit now.
Yeah, you need your energy to yourself.
And I don't know. It comes on so suddenly. I really can't. I don't know how to even like know that it's coming on. And so we had a really good night. We went to the movies. It was like very fun, very romantic. And then he kind of just like, I needed to go to work at the store really early the next day. So I was like, I have to go to bed. And he kind of was just like, oh, we should go to bed. And like, just like the way he asked it to me, like, I don't know, just hit me wrong, even though he didn't really say anything wrong. But I think it was more like I had so much dread around going to bed with him because I was so sad I couldn't have sex for like a while, maybe like at that point, maybe I don't know how many, like a couple weeks. I mean, several weeks, maybe even a month. It was bad. And I felt bad about that too. Yeah. But at the same time, especially from doing this podcast so long, like that's one thing I can, and I know Dan Savage sometimes talk about, sometimes you just like have sex even though you like don't super want to.
Yeah.
I can't do that.
Grief is so heavy.
I can't have sex if I don't want to. It just makes me feel like I'm raping myself and there's no way around it. And it's like, I just can't do that.
And as someone who's had sex when she doesn't want to, it's fucking awful. And the other person doesn't enjoy it either. Like it's just a bad situation.
Yeah. I feel
you're definitely better off not fucking.
And so I just had all this anxiety, you know, for weeks around going, and it had nothing to do with him. He's great in bed, actually. I'm not saying actually, like I was surprised, just like, you know, just like
you have a good sex slave.
Like, oh, it was, you know, it sucked to date someone who was good in bed while you didn't want to have sex.
Right. Yeah.
That sucked. And so, yeah, I kind of just like was like, I need to break up. Like it just, you know, when it doesn't, that's not the way I wanted to do it. That no one deserves that. It's not great. But then of course it escalated, and you know, he said shit that I was very angry about and stuff. And that I'm not going to share. Yeah. I also think in some ways, like the reason I haven't talked about this also was because, I did want to protect him more than I cared to protect other boyfriends. Because I feel like he deserved it. And also sometimes I think when you're so young, you think you'll be okay with having your dirty laundry aired. And I don't know that I would, like older me would agree with that, you know?
Right.
So I'm trying to be as protective as possible, especially because he's in the public eye too. Yeah. And so then we didn't talk for like a month at all. And I forget how we would talk on and off, and I ran into him in like the first time I saw him in person, I think I might have seen him at Gas Station in person, was at like Mike Harrington's birthday party at, Brooklyn Comedy Club, very unexpected. And he was there and I kind of knew he was going to be there, but I dressed nice. But I was not like 100% sure. And I was also like very nervous about it. I was like physically shaking. Because during that whole time, it's not like I don't want to say I didn't miss him, but I really wasn't focused on the relationship at all. It didn't feel like I had a breakup.
All encompassing
because I needed to manage my grief so badly, and it's not like I went out and I partied or I hooked up with anyone else. Like it was just like a very quiet time when I stayed in my apartment for like 2 months, to the point where I was like, in therapy, being like, I'm sleeping 14 hours a day. Like I don't know what to do. I also caught up on all these doctor's appointments that I had missed because of my dad. So like my health, I hadn't gone to fucking any doctor in like 2 years. It was rough. Between COVID and my dad, and
then the excess stress with an autoimmune is just like,
so my autoimmune was out of control. I was like gaining all this weight, all this shit. It was just very bad. And and then I saw him at Mike Harrington's birthday party, and he's like rubbing my back, and like it was just very, you're like, I want to be comforted by you so much, and I still love you, but I don't think that we can get back together right now, because like I'm still fucked up and I can't step into this again until I know for sure. Because it's like, if
you don't like doing things that you can't give your all to.
Well, and also if you make the mistake, and if you make the mistake once getting into a relationship when you're not in the headspace, you certainly can't get into the same one and have anyone have any sympathy or empathy for you. It's like the first time, okay, like I gave myself a pass.
Yeah.
But if I did it again to him, that would be fucked up.
Grief is unpredictable. I don't know.
I just wasn't ready.
Right. Okay. So that's
but it was, so it's like this like toying between just like, oh, this feels so nice to be around you. It would be so nice to be comforted by you. But also I know how emotional you are and how much emotional maintenance you need. He's a very emotional person, which I think if I was at my best, I could handle, but certainly me at my saddest, it was way more than I could handle. I could barely handle my own fucking sadness. I'm actually pretty good at managing my own sadness, but just other people's is, I need to be like in a fucking good headspace to deal with it. And then so, after that, we kind of like were more chatty, and like we would go back and forth for like, kind of like, just chatting like old times, but just talking. And we always like had a plan to like meet up and kind of talk through things and like, watch like a TV show that we always used to watch and like hang out. And like we just both got, I don't know, we were both busy. He was a lot busier. I was kind of the same level of busy, and he got busier, which I was so happy to see. I always like give my boyfriends these recommendations of things they should do to help their career, and then they never do it until we break up. But I was happy to see him doing those things. And I don't want to stop you from doing those things, because that's exactly what you should be doing. Because I was also worried that he was spending too much time with me at a very important time in his career, when he should be fucking at open mics and stuff every night. Not wondering what his 6-year-old girlfriend is doing on the couch this week. And it's like, it's also, I feel like, you want to hang out with your friends. Like, I don't want to hang out with a bunch of, 24-year-olds, but like, you should be hanging out with 24-year-olds. You should be doing the things that you want to, you should be smoking pot out of your Rick and Morty bong. Like, you should be doing all these things. But also, if I was too, into doing these things, that would be weird for me. And I'm never gonna, revert at this age to the girl who sits around and watches her boyfriend play video games, because I've graduated from that a long time ago. And if you're 36 and you're still doing, quite honestly, if you're energy age and you're doing that, I would advise against it. But if you're in your 20s and doing that, that's kind of the time when you, as a heterosexual woman, learn that maybe you shouldn't sit around and watch your boyfriend play video games.
When you find yourself in your 30s,
one of the major lessons of the 20s,
looking around the living room of a guy while he's going through a castle. You got back on out of that.
Video games?
On your own time.
Watch porn and play video games by yourself.
If you're not a boyfriend I live with, I don't ever want to see you playing video games unless I'm asleep.
If you live together.
Well, if you live together, obviously sometimes you're going to play video games and I'm going to see it, of course.
Okay. Just making sure.
But if we're only seeing each other a couple nights a week, I don't want to see you play video games.
Spend the time with me.
He didn't really like ask me to do that ever. Okay. I think he knew better.
Yeah, it's just like a thing that happens, unfortunately.
But he's loved video games. Classic. And then and then I think, it went back and forth. And then of course it feels like, oh, okay, are you like both parties are like, are you unenthusiastic about meeting back up? Like, if it's this hard to meet up when we live fucking 10-minute walk from each other, like, should we even do this? But both sides were always like, no, like, I want to. It's just like, and like,
just literally
I actually went back and reread every text exchange from the night we broke up until present day. And I was like, yeah, I mean, it really, maybe I overreacted about him not wanting to like meet up, because it really actually didn't. Like, one time there was like a flat tire, like it was like me being dramatic. Okay, but again, my emotions.
You can be dramatic. It's okay. Like, we're not always at our best all the time.
Yeah, no. And
ask me. I'm not.
What a confirmation.
Yeah, and then something happened where he like tweeted some shit about like Roe v. Wade and the Amber Heard trial, which you guys know is a real sensitive spot for me.
It is. Yeah.
I was very angry.
What do you think about it?
I was very angry at that time.
Yeah, well, you know,
really,
that was like the one subject he shouldn't have said shit on.
I was really angry. Between those two things combined made me so angry at men.
Right.
And to see someone who I loved, and I still love him. I don't need to use past tense. Who I love do that. Like, it just like it broke my heart. And also, there's like my voice on this podcast, the way it's in your guys' heads, it's in my head too.
Right.
I don't want to be saying things and then not living by those same standards. So I was like, how can I fuck a guy who's like making jokes like this? And I know they're just jokes, but like we've been talking about, sometimes I'm like, I don't know. And again, this is not me shitting on him or trying to like do anything. This is me grappling with my own thoughts as like being a comedian and a feminist, which is a constant fucking problem.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like, they weren't that bad. They were like just like jokes that you would think were funny when you're 24.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Like, we all know them, but like when you interpret them through a 36-year-old angry woman's mind, it just like made me want to fucking slam a fucking glass on the floor.
Well, jokes are supposed to be truth plus timing, right? But if his truth is that go Johnny Depp,
well, and it was like also one of them was like directed towards his exes, which obviously included me,
right?
And and it just fucking
rubbed you the wrong way. It was bad timing. It was bad. If I were to tell him two things to shut the fuck up about during this moment in time, if he still wanted to meet up, it would be Roe v. Wade and Johnny Depp.
And not that he was tweeting for me, or that he should tweet, or he should say whatever he wants to do, and he's his own person and he's his own artist, of course. But
knowing you and what you care about and what turns you off.
So I was just like, I just screenshotted it and I was like, hangout cancel.
Yeah, tell him, Corinne. Tell him.
Then we didn't speak for a while, and then I ran into, there were some cold run-ins, a couple times at a place of work, and kind of fizzled from there. And then over the past like couple of weeks, there was some stuff that I needed to talk to him about, that I called him about, and like I wanted to call him about it to like clear the air, and so that we didn't have any animosity towards each other. And again, it's like the breakup, like you started with the best of intentions, and then it fucking really escalated, and then we just got in a huge fucking fight on the phone, screaming, not listening to each other at all.
Right.
He hangs up on me. I go, that wasn't exactly
to me. But to me, I say that's because you guys love each other, and like you know.
Well,
if one person has a temper and they're not getting what they want with the love department, it's gonna ignite it.
Well, it was funny because when I wasn't sure if I wanted to talk about this at all, I was gonna pose a question to the class, and my question was, do you guys think if someone screams at you over the phone, I haven't thought about this relationship in months, that they really haven't thought about this
that's a lie. To me, that's like, oh baby,
that's a great question, man. I don't know.
But no, whoa, what do you mean? I don't know. That's what that to me, girl. That goes, yes, I've been thinking about this and I hate that I've been thinking about it. Fuck the hold you have on me.
I don't think a guy would say it if he didn't mean it.
Are you serious?
That you don't 100%. Think so?
Yeah.
I don't think you know.
With this person,
I mean, it might be different for.
I think this person is more likely to
why would they get so mad?
Exactly. Where's the anger coming from? The anger is coming from love. Love and hate are very similar.
Did you call him? Did you initiate this interaction?
We agreed upon it over text, and he was like very responsive. He was like, "Oh, are you okay? What do you need? Give me a call."
Okay. And then you guys were talking about what were you, I know you don't want to disclose, but like, I think as a guy,
You weren't talking about getting back together.
No, but were you talking about like things adjacent to his career maybe, or things that you had seen?
Maybe he felt like he was getting criticized and he's like, I'm not even in a relationship with you.
That's what I'm thinking.
Is that what he's meaning?
Yeah.
Well, possibly that too. I think it can be both things.
But to answer your question though, when a guy screams it over the phone, does he mean it? My instinct would say no.
My thought would be that if a woman that I had dated, obviously you guys were more serious than pretty much any relationship I've been in, but if some woman that I had dated was talking to me,
woman
at this point, that's
me.
You're right.
How
but
dare
I'm talking
you disrespect me like that,
I'm thinking
Michael?
about the
You're
context
fired.
of my own life here, because most of them are some woman. Unfortunately,
Hear that, ladies?
I'm not some woman. Yeah,
I know, but I think that if there was a woman that I had been dating that like kind of, if I felt like she was coming at me a little bit over something that
you really did.
Sure,
Something that you actually did.
Yeah, but if I wasn't involved with this person romantically anymore,
Yeah, but like, why am I getting this criticism?
Right, like why is this person busting my balls over?
Possibly,
that's just a thought. I'm not.
Yeah, and
saying...
some people like everybody handles criticism in a very specific way, and I feel like it's one thing to be handling criticism from somebody that you do love, that you kind of want to be with, that dumped you, that you didn't want to get dumped by. Tempers will flare.
It's also, like the point of me sharing that actually was not like, oh, he obviously wants me back. Like,
right.
I don't necessarily think that. Like, that's not. And I think, listen, I watched a lot of videos about if you dump a person, how they feel about you.
They probably hate you, right? Being dumped brings out the worst in people.
Well, a lot of the talk was because there's different like videos to watch for men or for women. And a lot of it had to do with like the bruised male ego. And I was like, so we meet again, I was like, Jesus Christ.
Happy to be back in the ring with you.
But I think like in some ways, like, his public persona has a lot of ego, but his private one does too, but like not in a way that's, I think it's like in a way that's manageable, like, okay, like it didn't never like bothered me. Like I would call him cocky sometimes, but that's fine. I am too. And so that happened. And then I was just like very upset all week about that. That's not at all how I wanted that to go. And so it was just like, it's like, I'm just fucking making this worse every time I make contact. And like, I also really had felt like it would be better in person, but there was just like the in person wasn't just happening, like just wasn't happening. Right. So we had to, and I was like, I hope maybe I'll run into him someplace. Yeah. We can have like a talk or whatever. And it just like never fucking happened. And I was like, is this like the fucking universe like keeping us apart? Like, I don't know. And then it got to a point where like a week later, I was distraught. So like all my emotions from, I basically had compartmentalized like anything that had happened outside of my dad dying while my dad was dying. And so so basically like after June 29th, I kind of was able to then start processing June 29th, it's the anniversary of my dad's death. So I was then again able to process all these fucking emotions that I had not processed, including the breakup with Dylan, which obviously I'm sure came across as like very cold, like hurting him again because like I never reached out after the breakup. And I was just like, I was like in my apartment. I was like at the point I was like physically like shaking. I was like, good God, we thought we would be over this by 36, How many times are we going to go through this same shit?
Losing love is terrible. Yeah. Even if you are the one who ended it, that's so not fun. That's the least fun thing.
Well, yeah. And then I kind of just like reached out to him and I let him know. I was just like, just so you know, like that's not like how that call played out was not at all my intention.
Yeah.
And that's not, I didn't call you to like yell at you, I didn't yell at him, but
it landed there.
I'm sure it sounded like a scolding, but also, when you're 12 years older than someone, everything kind of sounds like a scolding if we're being quite honest.
Right.
Put down your toys. So, which is something I've definitely said.
Miss the toy jokes.
Yeah. And, and so that's where I am now. And I'm just like kind of sitting. This is, I think it's hard because it's the first time I've ever dumped someone and like feel regrets about it. Not like at the time that it had to happen when it happened. There was no way I could continue in that relationship or any relationship at that time. But I certainly like regret how it went down. It's someone I miss. I'm sad about it. I still love the person. And And it's also the first time that I've had to dump someone because of me, not because of them. So that's a very different thing.
That is very, you're right.
So
you're right.
I had to break up with you because
that's a different layer for
I
you.
couldn't function.
Right.
Not because you couldn't function.
Right. And you've never had that.
And obviously there were some things like, he couldn't function with the way I function, but the primary problem was I was not a human fucking
You weren't good giving a game, as Dan Savage says. Yeah. You weren't.
And then every time we've tried to talk about it, I just feel like we're just like fucking missing each other's points.
It's a lot of that's a high intensity emotion situation because especially if he kind of picks up on the fact that like it's not that you wanted this to happen, it's just you couldn't be with anybody and you just it's hard, man, when you heartache. It's a hard emotion, and especially like if you have a temper, or if you feel like you need to control stuff, which a lot of people do. How do you fucking deal with it? Yeah, damn.
Yeah, and I also feel like it's like I feel like he gave me a lot of time to come back or apologize, or not even apologize, or just like explain myself a little bit more. And I feel like basically when I was like hangout canceled with the screenshot, I think that was kind of like the last straw probably. And,
did you say hangout canceled?
Yes.
See, but to me, like I would have, that's not playful because I know you meant it.
It's very me.
It is very you. And and he knows you. Like, I'd be like, I'm gonna give her a couple of days.
Listen, I mean, it's like
I probably said some stupid shit because a comedian that's like new at this, that's a lot of half-baked ass fucking ideas getting tweeted out. That's part of the job. It's part of getting better.
Yeah, I mean, he met me, through a place where I was getting in fucking screaming fights with his boss. So
right. So he's not like,
Obviously,
he knows he's dealing with a fiery lady.
It was not a mystery,
right?
Which I pointed out many times. I was like, it's not a mystery who you were getting.
Like, I would never get mad at you for that. Like, if you didn't respect something, I'd be like, oh shit, I wouldn't know why that's happening. Like, especially because you said you gave him the screenshot, like this is why.
Well, and so every now and then, like something will make me just like get really, really hot.
Yeah,
and then I can cool down from it. But I was hot for weeks about that Amber Heard.
Yeah,
I was angry. That was how to talk about it in therapy. Angry.
Yeah, because that also embodies like all the fucking worst men's opinions, and it's like that's really tough to deal with someone you love. Like that's.
And I also try to explain to these male comics, it's like, yeah, you're like, they're like, but you're a comic. I go, I am a comic, but I was like, you have to understand.
You're also a woman.
We have a podcast that we've had for almost a decade.
Yeah.
Where we have these conversations and we've been exposed to so many things and so many people's stories. Yeah. And you can't.
It's a very unique situation to be in.
You can't take that out of your soul.
But that's the thing about comedians that sucks is that they're willing to distance themselves from humanity.
I know, not us.
Well,
Guys we fucked.
But see, that's how I think of comedy in such a different way. I think of comedy as like the one way
Harlan didn't distance himself
in which
from
I can connect to humanity. And for someone who is so distant, it's been like such a wonderful tool for me to connect with other people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think that I'm not talking about like you guys doing that, but I think that there's a lot of,
there's some comics that just don't like when other comics talk about anything serious. And it's like, all right, well, that's not being human, motherfucker.
It's like this idea that like nothing is off limits necessarily, but that also doesn't mean that there's no such thing as taste.
Yeah, but it's like when George Carlin is mad and he takes it to the stage, it's funny. When Corinne's mad and she takes it to the stage, it's just like, calm down.
Yeah, right.
And it's like, what?
Yeah,
we're saying the same fucking thing. We're calling out systems that are hypocritical, that are bullshit.
Well, because when women get angry, it's like considered shrewish. Listen,
we're gonna change that.
I always try to never get on stage angry, just because it's like not like. For me, like comedy is like a anger free. I'm not angry when I'm doing comedy, even if I'm talking about something that makes me angry. It's very like weight lifted for me.
Yeah.
And I feel like I get angry so much less since I started comedy, almost 12 years ago. And it's been wonderful. Not that I was never like, I never really had like a super hot temper, but like, again, if there's a place where my temper arises, it's definitely in relationships. I don't really have like I'm not like a big, I've never like really screamed in like the studio or anything,
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah. And so, and like, I just kind of like, I didn't really want to, I'm just like so tired of talking about my stuff publicly, but it's like, I feel like it's been long enough. Like, if you want to, that if people slide in his DMs, like whatever, it was kind of like, this is my fault, So, I'm sure he's moved on when you're 24, to let, that many months pass by is like a lot long. Like that, March to me doesn't seem that long ago, but I think if I was 24, it would seem a lot longer ago because things are faster. Like I believe I was like his longest term relationship. We were together for like 7 months. So that's not, obviously like my longest relationship was 5 years. So different, but he would have
different thing.
been a child then.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just kind of wanted to, I don't know.
Yeah. Sometimes it's helpful to just,
it just felt like a lot
talk
to hold in, and I don't even know where to go from.
Yeah, like where do you put it
here?
Yeah, I hear you. I understand that.
But it's just frustrating to like finally get over like one sadness and then just like immediately be greeted with another sadness, and you're like, oh my God. And like an overwhelming, but it's overwhelming because it was like repressed for so long.
Right.
So you're like, fuck.
Now you have the room to deal with it, and it goes, here I am. And you're like, can you give me a month off from being sad?
Yeah, because I literally
want that for you.
Literally haven't had sex with anyone else. I wasn't doing anything.
Right.
I wasn't like hanging out with anyone.
Right.
Damn. But yeah. So that is that.
And so we go on, life just, you never know what's going to happen. People take it day by day. Mm-hmm. Thanks for sharing. I feel like Brene Brown always says, share your story with people who deserve to hear it. And, we can't really control that with this podcast.
Some of you don't, but I'm just,
but there's also a lot of, I don't know. It feels good for me to get shit off my chest. So hopefully it will bring you some.
Well, I think there was
lightness,
I also feel like he was like in parts hurt that I like didn't talk about it, but I was like, no matter what I do,
he doesn't know the nature of.
No matter what I do, it's always the fucking wrong thing,
right?
It's just like I was.
Well, when somebody's brokenhearted over getting dumped and they didn't want the relationship to end, yes, whatever you do is going to be the wrong thing. Unless it's getting back together with him, whatever you do is going to be the wrong thing,
right?
Even if he logically knows that that's not true, his temper can react to that.
Well, according to Mike, he doesn't want to get back together.
I didn't say that I just said I could see it as a possibility.
Well, of course, it's always
my own experience.
It's always a possibility. Yeah, no, I mean, it was just, and again, like a dump feels such. I don't even like to use that word because it's like he didn't do anything wrong. It was
people get dumped. Yeah, no. Well, I guess
it was completely.
We talk about dumping a lot.
Well, I actually know like more people I know. Like I've been talking to like one person a lot about this who and
the notion of dumping is used for trash. So I guess we could use another word.
Well, yeah, and like he broke up.
I just thought of that.
And he broke up with someone, and it was like he broke up with like someone that he really, really cares about, and it was literally because he was just like not functioning, and it's so
recent or before you.
What? It wasn't someone I was dating. It was like a friend.
Oh, okay. I see. Okay.
Yeah, he was just telling me about a relationship that he was in where he had to break up with somebody. Like, like not Dylan, someone else.
Oh, okay.
And that's always hard. I feel like that one's hard when you have to. It's just hard when you have to dump someone because of you. When you have to break up with someone because you can't function in the relationship. And it's also it feels like you're lying when you're telling the person the reason.
Right.
It feels like. Even though if it's best.
Yeah. And everybody can logically sit down and be presented with this, a person that's grieving the loss of a parent that they deeply loved is not functional in a relationship. That makes sense. Like everyone would agree with that. But when you're the other part of the relationship, you just take it, And
of course, I mean, differently. I imagine I would have taken it personally too, at least in part, maybe not as much because I'm older. But I
think like logically though, you would know just because we talk about this shit so much, like
sure.
It's so obviously logical that this makes sense.
It's hard not to take things personally though. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's practice. It's every day you have to work at not taking things personally, which I highly recommend. More people should do it.
Also, like I kind of just at a certain point, I was like, well, I've tried to tell him this so many times, like in person, and I can't. So I'm like, I'll just
say it here,
put it out into the universe.
Yeah.
I don't really know. I don't really know what to do with it. So.
Yeah. Well, here's the place to dump it.
Yeah.
So to speak.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully that clears some space for some happiness.
Yeah.
I want you to be happy, girl, every day. Speaking of happy. Our guests make people happy professionally.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Between the two of them, some titles that we got: surrogate partners, professional cuddlers, human connection coach. Guys, please welcome to Guys We Fcked, Brian Gibney and Michelle Renee. All right, we are here with Michelle Renee and Brian Gibney. Very excited to speak to both of you today. What are your titles? You have current titles.
Okay. I am a professional cuddler. I am a surrogate partner. I am an intimacy coach. I'm a cuddle party facilitator. Am I missing
I
anything?
think that's pretty much it.
Okay, I think
It's a full resume.
Yeah.
And how about you, Brian?
So I am a surrogate partner, intimacy coach, educator, and advocate.
Awesome. Okay.
And then what's your relationship to each other?
So we are colleagues, but I also have mentored Michelle for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
Mentored in what way? Like with what aspect?
Oversees. When I first started in the work, he oversaw all of my work. I would write
As a
notes.
surrogate partner.
He would read them. He would write comments in them. It was helpful to the therapist working with us.
Okay.
So, yeah, very much
Nice.
a mentor.
So we should probably talk about what surrogate partner therapy is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I was
Surrogate partner.
When most people hear surrogate, they're thinking of pregnancy. They're not thinking of sexuality.
Yeah, and when I say that, people look at me like,
I get those
"What
questions
are you talking about?"
sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you want me to give the
Yes.
lowdown? Okay. So surrogate partner therapy was first started by Masters and Johnson in the late 60s, early 70s. And they had it as a part of sex therapy where clients would come in, they would say, I have this issue with sexual dysfunction. Not only am I going to do regular talk therapy with the therapist, but there's going to be a touch component. Now, they might have a partner or a spouse that could do the touch component. But if they didn't have that, Masters and Johnson would supply them with a surrogate partner who would do that with them.
Okay. Wow, that's you gotta, man, that's tricky because it's a necessary thing. I can totally can you say some reasons why people would want a surrogate sex partner? Like, what are some common reasons that you've run across?
So I'm gonna like pause that for a second. So we tend to say surrogate partner, not sex surrogate or surrogate sex partner, because so much of our work has to do with relationships and how that affects sexual relationships.
Yeah,
it's not just about the act of sex.
Okay, got it. So what would reasons be to hire a surrogate partner?
So people often come to us because they've been struggling with sexuality or relationships for a long time.
Okay.
So much so that they really can't date, they can't have partnerships. So they might have a history of abuse or assault.
Yeah,
They might have some kind of like erectile or orgasmic dysfunction. They might have genital pain or physical disabilities.
Yeah.
Or they might have some kind of gender dysphoria or figuring out their sexual orientation.
Interesting.
Lack of experience,
or just like general social anxiety of like, I don't know how to people, and dating is really, really hard.
Right. And
so not like just like I'm an asshole, like I'm an incel, that kind of thing.
So it's interesting. Like those people definitely come into us. Like often contact surrogate partners. The nice thing is we're kind of insulated from the assholes by the therapist.
Right.
So we always work with a talk therapist.
Yeah.
That helps with ethical boundaries. That helps with the processing of it. But that also helps us address like what are the red flags of a person coming into it. If someone's an incel, they're going to work on a lot of shit before they even get to us first.
Right. And they probably wouldn't want to go into the vulnerability and intimacy as much.
Yeah. But after they've done a significant amount of talk therapy, the therapist might be like, so that asshole part of you that makes you an incel?
Yeah.
Like, let's work on that.
That.
In real time with a real person, and let's see how that feels.
Yeah, right. Which is a necessary service to give people, because a lot of people are just flailing their anger and flinging their pain at people. And it's like, man, you just gotta, and a lot of men in the United States who have shot up places, a lot of time who write manifestos, blame their lack of sexual intimacy and encounters. And it's like, oh boy, okay. But if you think about it, who gives us the tools? No one. Yeah. So we're kind of fucked. So I have this type of empathy for anybody who kind of is lashing out in that way, because they didn't have if they had the tools, they would use them. So how do you give somebody the tools? Like what? I know it's a very big question.
Well, do you want to start with this?
Yeah. Well, we start really slowly.
Yeah.
We spend a lot of time building foundational skills of how to embody a yes and a no. Because if a client comes in and they can't even tell me what they want, or if I can't make an offer to them until I trust that they can actually give me an authentic response. So we spend a lot of time in the beginning really shoring up that kind of foundational system, helping them understand boundaries, how to talk about what they want, how to identify what they want. Sometimes they come in and they're like, I don't even know if I like touch.
Right.
So we spend a lot of time doing that. It's a very measured process that looks very not what people think about. There's a movie called The Sessions about surrogate partner therapy.
Oh, cool.
I don't know. A lot of people, when they hear about surrogate partner therapy, they're like, wasn't that Helen Hunt movie?
Oh, okay. I love Helen Hunt.
Yeah.
Really great movie.
Great movie. Great movie.
It's
not the work that we do.
Has this pretend rule that they only have 6 sessions to get all their work done, so they dive right into it really fast. And it's like, that is not how this works. Like, I have a client right now, we're well past a year. You have a client right now that's like with 3 years.
Yeah.
Like it can be a really it's a delicate situation for a lot of people.
You're dealing with the nervous system too.
We are retraining
so the nervous
system.
Yeah, and baby, if a human being baby is not held, they die. Yeah. So that shows us how important touch is and trusting touch.
Well, ultimately, we're building safety first.
Yeah.
It's like the number one thing for us to move forward is, have we established safety? We do that through being honest in our communication and authentic in our response and honoring people's boundaries. And it's a process.
Yeah.
And a lot of what we do is we just sit in the space with a client and say, like, how does it feel to be with us when sex is on the table? Right. You go into normal talk therapy and it's like, oh, well, like, I'm definitely not going to have sex with my therapist. That's against the rules.
Right.
They come in to us and it's like, oh, but wait, that's what I'm here for.
Right.
How do we interact with you knowing that sex is on the table, but not yet?
Yeah.
Well, that's a different layer then, because like we always talk about even with a talk therapist, you have to kind of, you're not going to necessarily vibe with the first one that's presented with you. So with you have to like get along on a social level then, but also have some kind of a physical attraction to each other. So no. If I'm I'm saying like if I was your client though, for me to have sex,
I don't know.
Please explain. Because I couldn't like let just some, no offense, random person touch me if I was not at all sexually attracted to them.
That's the key though. Like, we do it in a slow, measured way. So we go from random person to trusted person that you can be intimate with, be vulnerable with. And it's amazing. You were talking about the nervous system. It's amazing what happens when safety increases, when we start to get curious together about what our bodies are feeling. Like, it's not the same as meeting someone on the street
Oddly,
and being
I
like,
can see
they're
that.
hot.
Yeah. As much as I, with sex historically, I need to know you. I kind of need to know you inside and out in a way for me to build the sexual attraction to you. I do get how when you intentionally take it slow with this goal of perhaps coming together sexually at some point. Yeah, I don't know. I guess to me, I'm like, oh yeah, sexual attraction that's a different category for a different situation. Like, I don't know. I do get how that could be beneficial.
Yeah, I think I just maybe wouldn't be for me. But
yeah.
I was like, I don't think there's any, like, I'd have to.
Well, you'd probably take a relationship that you're in and work through it in therapy. We're there for the people that can't get into that relationship. And so we also have to build a willingness or find something to be attracted to in this person so we can also show up that way. It's not like I show up as my authentic, erotic, full 100% self with all of my clients. Sometimes I'm like, sure, I can show up for this much.
Okay. So now I'm a little confused. So you're finding something to be attracted to, but not necessarily sexual attraction. Cause like what you just explained feels a little different from what you just explained.
What is sexual attraction?
Being horny for somebody.
Yeah, I mean, okay.
No. Thank you for saying that, so I could say no. So, like, I can be attracted to someone's mind. I could be attracted to their inquisitiveness. I could be attracted to the way their body feels in my arms. And they may say, well, I'm fat. How could you possibly be attracted to me? It's like, but you feel good. I'm choosing to say, like, these are the things that I'm picking and choosing to be attracted to. These are the things that I'm drawn to. And it's not like, well, you don't look like this, like, billboard or magazine model. Right. Which is like this one weird qualifier for attraction.
Well, that's like a societal thing, though, because like lots of people are attracted to people of different weights.
Right. But we both have our own individual attractions. Yeah. And we're also like marinating in the societal attraction stuff. So for me, like, I'm a geeky freaky person. Like, I really get turned on by people's brains. I get turned on by like curiosity. The fact that someone is coming into this work and wants to be curious and vulnerable with me,
There's already something there for you.
there's already something there.
Yeah.
And when a client is like not showing up for the work, I'm like, that's a boner killer.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because when we talk about attraction, like, I mean, I'm not talking about looks. I'm just that means nothing.
It can mean anything.
I can spot someone across the room and go, ooh, but their looks are part of it. But it's also like whatever the energy's coming out.
So when you say boner killer, are you getting an erection during these sessions, or can you?
Sometimes,
Yeah. And is there like a conversation about that? Do you say like,
What if you get a boner where you shouldn't?
Yes.
But like, I don't know.
Yes.
What if they're like, hey, I was just telling you about my mom. Can you not have a hard dick right now?
Oh my God, there's so many good things to talk about this, because like we get to talk about, like, I'm going to be like super clinical right now, arousal non-concordance.
What's that?
So that means either you're turned on when you don't want to be turned on, or you're not turned on when you want to be turned on.
right?
Life of a woman.
Yes, yeah. So like arousal non-concordance happens in like 90% of our clients, I would say, on one way or another. So like, what happens if we're in the beginning stages of the work and the client is still trying to like figure out where they are with me? Like, I'm a dude and they might not feel comfortable with me because they have been assaulted in the past.
Yeah.
And we're snuggling for the first time, and oh no, like I might get a boner. I might get a hard on.
Oh yeah.
like,
and if you've been assaulted.
Right. So we start by having this conversation out in the open, even before we do the cuddle.
Right.
We'd be
Smart.
like, so here's the thing. I have a dick. And my dick
The
might
physiological response could happen. Yeah.
There might be a physiological response. We're not going to do anything with that. That can be in the room with us, and you can have your own response to it, but also know that that doesn't mean we have to act any certain way. We don't have to do anything different than we would otherwise.
Do the people that hire you to be surrogate partners talk to you during the interact? Like they just check in with you while you're touching them?
That's part of the process.
Wow, that's so odd.
So what if you had a sexual encounter that was super conscious on every level and you communicated openly all the time? What if you're like, okay, so you're touching my hand right now. How does my hand feel, and what kind of feelings does it elicit in my body?
Right.
And you did that every step of the way. And you did that in a way like it was really slow.
That's a lot of work. Ooh.
It's a lot of work. But that's what we're doing. We're starting
you're building
from the
somebody
foundation.
up.
We're building up. Yeah.
Interesting.
Very meta. Like everything that's happening, I'm trying to say it out loud to the client so they know this is how Michelle works.
Right.
This is what's happening inside her brain.
Yeah.
This is what's happening inside her body. And then like we want to make that really comfortable so that they can take that forward, because that's going to change how they interact with another person in any kind of experience, not just a sexual experience.
Right. And then so your interactions with these clients can go from just basic touching, stillness touch, or like holding each other, just sitting in the same room, to just full on fucking. I know it's not the clinical term.
No, well, yeah, that's actually like
Oversimplified.
Like, what if they want to hire a surrogate partner to figure out how to have kinky sex?
Good question. And we get it all the time.
Because kink can be a great way to work
Yeah.
out shit.
Again,
it doesn't have to be,
The
but
surrogate partner model is a very measured process, and those people might not need that full experience. Maybe they need to go find a coach instead of a surrogate partner. I think the definition is really important, and understanding that I've worked with people that want to explore their kink, and I can do that with their therapist on board. I can do that without their therapist on board. That's not necessarily surrogate partner therapy unless we're doing all that really deep work around helping them get to a place of being able to be in a relationship. That's the whole key, is to help them be in a relationship, not necessarily to help them have sex. They come in with that desire.
Right.
That's the thing, that the carrot that pulls them in.
but they leave with something bigger.
But we know that if you've got erection issues, it's probably something else going on inside of your relationship with yourself and relationship with other people. We have a broader idea of what that looks like.
Right.
They don't know that when they come in. They don't know what they don't know.
Right. Do you notice any patterns with erectile dysfunction, emotional patterns or self-worth patterns that pop up? Can we go over them?
No, that was a big topic during the unsealed documents of the Johnny Depp Amber Heard case.
Yeah,
I loved your guys' take on that, and thank you. I really
that's all Corinne.
that. Like that was.
Thank you. I lost sleep over it.
I bet you felt a lot of ramifications.
I'm still actually pretty angry about it, but I'm just
I didn't follow it that deep to know what was in the case as far as that goes.
Yeah.
But I know that when I have a client that comes in with erectile issues, I can't fix that for them.
Right.
I can give them tools to learn how to be vulnerable and feel safe in their body and feel safe with their partner. And I can teach them how to talk about it.
Yeah.
I can do those things. I can't fix their penis. I just can't do it.
And
so it's like,
do people expect that from you?
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay, got it. So you really got to lay that down.
But it's a medical issue. I mean, why would you be able to fix that? You know?
Well, okay, so there's steps, right?
Yeah.
Barry McCarthy has a really great book on erectile dysfunction and premature ejaculation. That's the first thing I send an inquiry when they come in and they're like, can you fix my penis? I'm like, okay, first I want you to go read these books. If you have a partner, these books will walk you through all the exercises to try to solve that situation. The first step is go get a medical evaluation.
Oh, okay, got it. To make sure that it's not your blood pressure.
We want to make sure that there's not medical issues.
Yeah.
A lot of the times it's psychological.
What are like the hits in terms of the themes of what is gnawing at any given man for erectile dysfunction? Like self-worth,
I'm at gender identity. As a man, I am supposed to be able to have an ever hard dick and give it to the woman. Okay, well, what happened? What does that mean as far as my masculinity when I can't do that?
Yeah.
And then you start to have a relationship with your dick, whether it's hard or not hard. I'm feeling a lot of shame about the fact that I can't have a hard dick. And you bring that into a relationship. So part of what we do is that meta conversation of what's the relationship you have with, the fact that your genitals aren't working the way you want to, whether it's a man or a woman.
Right.
What can we do with a soft penis?
Yeah.
I want to start. Can we have a month of appreciation for soft cock?
That's a tricky one.
Well, because the thing is when you start to overanalyze it, it's the surefire way to not get an erection.
Right. Of course.
For sure.
And,
oh my God.
And as fun as a hard dick is in sex, that's not all there is.
Oh, right.
How do we broaden the definition of sex?
Yeah, and gain self-esteem off of other sexual acts in that way.
And take the hard dick off the table. So when we're not paying attention, what do you know?
It's hard. It's hard. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because you just talked about now that I was just thinking about it, I feel like the conversations around ED, I hear a lot more in the heterosexual community than in the gay community. Do you have any thoughts on that?
We were literally just talking
woman's
about
stare can kill a boner.
Well, because since this is, obviously since we are, two heterosexual women hosting this podcast, a lot of times that's the kind of sex we're talking about. That's the kind of sex that we know about. That's the kind of sex we have. And so, we've gone outside of the box a few times, not often though. And so, instead of trying to, cover things that we don't know about, there's other podcasts that you can go to for people who have an expertise on those things. That being said, I think a lot of, straight and bi women feel like it's their fault when their partner can't get hard. And obviously the advice that we're giving is kind of straying away from that, but the information you just gave us strays more towards it again. So I want to clarify that. Could it be, that they aren't attracted to their partner?
So let's flip that around. What happens when I'm working with a female client and I don't get hard? Right?
That's awkward.
That's right. And the client immediately goes into a tailspin of, I'm not attractive.
The surrogate partner can get a boner from me.
The professional
no one's going to get a boner.
So we get to talk about what kinds of sex we can have when my hard-on doesn't show up.
Right. And which I wish more straight couples would talk about that.
And I normalize that and I say, guess what? When I'm with my partners, sometimes I'm not hard. Sometimes it's not about doing the thing with the hard dick.
Yeah.
And almost universally, they're like, what? That's not important?
They're not talking about it. I had a client that was his primary reason to come see me. In the end, what we needed to do was help him establish safety in his body because there was assault history. But part of the most powerful thing that I think we worked on was how to talk about it, and the fact that I have friends in the swinger community who know how to go into a new experience and say, just this is what you should know about me and how my body works, and my penis is probably not going to show up here today, and I'm used to this is normal. Talking about it ahead of time and just being able to be
deflate the situation.
I'm okay with it. You don't need to take care of it. My erection or non-erection is my problem.
Yeah.
And I think that was like, even though it was a simple, it felt like maybe a 15-minute conversation, it was modeling for him, even that what we think of as like really sexually savvy person that's running around the non-monogamy world, they have problems too.
Yeah.
And I think that we're there to normalize a lot of what sex is and isn't. And everything's normal.
Right.
If you're experiencing it, it's normal.
What kind of images in media do we have that say like, this is what sex should look like? It's like porn, it's like scenes in movies where it's like
so unrealistic.
It's so unrealistic. It's like things happen real fast. There's not a lot of talking. Like arousal happens naturally. Like, okay, like people don't just like kind of fall together and body parts start like hitting each other. Like that's not how sex actually works. So yeah, we get to talk about that. We get to challenge those like really deeply held cultural misconceptions about sex. One of the things we were talking about, like heteronormativity. So Lucy Fielding, who is a therapist, just wrote Trans Sex, is a great therapist and colleague and friend. And she and I have spent a lot of time talking about like what is it like to queer sex, right? And the hetero community might feel a little bit anxious about that. Right? Because like, should our sex be queer? How do we feel about queerness?
Does that make us queer?
But like, what does it mean to deprioritize PIV intercourse and like celebrate everything else?
Right.
Like that can be super hot.
Yeah.
Like, I can have sex with a partner just by touching their fingers. And
whoa, that's wild.
Well, that's like saying like, can we quit talking about foreplay?
Oh God, yeah.
It's just sex.
Yeah.
It's just sex.
You guys also are intimacy coaches. Is that a separate service from surrogate partners? Sorry.
You did a good job. Thank you.
I knew I had to stop, but I was like, but what do I say now?
Yeah. Do you want to check?
I think probably every intimacy coach does it differently and has different boundaries. I have, how would I say, interesting boundaries around it. I'm totally okay with hands-on work.
Okay.
If they come in and we clearly need a therapist on board, then we need to maybe switch over to surrogate partner therapy. If they're coming in for example, like what example could I give? I have a really great, I'm going to not personalize this too much. A couple who they've opened up their relationship and one partner is hesitant to start dating. I'm a really great person to send them to me and help them experience intimacy, whether it's platonic or sexual intimacy.
Right.
And they can feel what it feels like in a safe place, and how do they feel about their partner afterwards.
Yeah, right.
It doesn't mean that we're having
very interesting
PIV sex.
Right.
It doesn't mean there's maybe even any genital contact, but we get to have this authentic connection, and they can go home and go, I still feel the same about my partner. Maybe I can start dating. Right. And so it's just a safer container than going out in the wild. So that's intimacy coaching to me.
Which is a little bit different from how I do it, right? Like most people, when they come to me, they're not appropriate for surrogate partner therapy. They're already in like a stable couple, and introducing surrogate partner therapy into that is not what the work is for, right? But they say the spark is gone. We don't know how to communicate anymore.
Very common.
Right, very common. And they come into the work saying like, how about you teach us like some funky sexual positions or something like that and spice up our sex life? And it's like, okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to do the same thing that I do in surrogate partner therapy, but instead of me doing it with you one-on-one, I'm going to facilitate y'all doing it together.
Right.
So I'm going to teach you guys how to be present in your own bodies. I'm going to teach you guys how to communicate with each other about those sensations that you're having in your bodies, having vulnerability. And then as you touch each other, being curious about that, communicate with each other. When I do intimacy coaching, I stop at the line of eroticism or specific sexual touch. Like once people have figured out that, they can do things on their own. They don't need me there. Like sexy thought, but that's not what the work is about.
Right. Yeah. So you're kind of getting stuff at the root. It's like, if you want to look, you can look beautiful, you can have makeup to look beautiful, get your hair done and wear whatever you want. But if you do inner work on yourself and walk into a room and someone's going to go, did you get your, or whatever? And it's not that, it's your vibe, it's your inner. So you're teaching people to go within first, which is really smart. I'm reading a lot of Brene Brown lately, and she defines words, which is such a necessary tool for our society. And I wish more people were doing it. Can you guys define sexual intimacy for us?
Ooh.
It's like trying to ask us to say, what is love?
Yeah.
But people ask that a lot, though, like in interviews and stuff. Like, I mean, I guess
Brene
it's what it
defines
means
love
to
in a really beautiful way,
Yeah.
but like, through her research. But I'm curious, like, what if somebody comes to you like, I don't even know what intimacy is. So what is it?
That is one of those, what does it mean to you, that needs to be talked about between two people. Like we were just at a coffee shop, and we do a practice in our work called Sensate Focus, where we touch with a lot of intention and consciousness. And Brian taught me that skill, and we were reliving kind of like the first time he taught me the skill. And he's like, can I hold your hand here? And I said, yeah. And I reached across the table to him, and he does this lovely touch. And I go, I think we just had sex in the coffee shop.
right.
It's intimacy is about vulnerability. It's about authenticity.
Connection.
You add sex, I would change the word maybe to erotic. So, because I work in the full spectrum of intimacy. I'm a professional cuddler. That's incredibly platonic. It's so intimate. So like in surrogate partner therapy, one of our favorite moments that we have with clients often is the moment when you're cuddling. Maybe it's after an erotic event or something, and they go, oh, this is what intimacy is about. It's about the closeness and the being able to show up authentically and share those things that make you really scared with another person. That's intimacy. So you can have sex without intimacy.
Right, yeah.
So sexual intimacy is like being that way, but in a sexual space.
Interesting.
Intention.
Yeah, that makes sense. Have you encountered couples who seek your services, any of your services, that they're trying to make a round peg fit in a square hole? Like they're just done. It's fizzled out.
Yeah.
And because a lot of people don't want to admit it's over because it's sad.
This is why I don't like to work with couples. That is beyond my
fair.
pay
It's fair.
grade. Like,
right. But like
really
when you see two people come in and you're like, the love died. You don't love each other. Like, why are you trying to do this?
Well, yeah, there was some statistic or something on like many. I've taken in so much relationship content over the past 10 years, but like where basically like 50% of couples, and that's not a real statistic, but just a large amount of couples who go into couples therapy like basically go in to learn how to break up. And I was like, oh wow, that's staggering and sad, but makes sense. And honestly, it was like kind of what I was thinking in my head, but I thought I was just being a pessimist.
I mean, there's some couples that are really just looking for extra support.
Right.
That's awesome. And I love those proactive couples, and I've been able to work with them. It's the ones that
are looking for a fix when it's
fix.
you're just too scared to leave this relationship.
Fix my wife.
Yeah.
Oh, I would not be okay with that. Holy shit. Have you heard that from a guy?
I have heard that.
I've heard that from the
Fix my
or
wife?
Fix my husband.
But what are they saying is wrong with the partner? I'm
fix.
curious.
Well,
The partner's not showing up sexually in the way that they want them.
Oh, that's so. Oh my gosh.
Just sexually? Okay, I thought it was
Well, no,
they didn't
there's
take
more
out the
problems.
well,
garbage.
there's
trust
always
me, there's-
more. Yeah.
And that touches, first of all,
Maybe she doesn't want to fuck you because you don't ask her how her day is.
Yeah.
it touches on my past, so I tend to be like, I don't know if this is something I can work in.
Yeah.
And I've had to create boundaries of how would I be a yes to work with this one person out of the couple or whatever the configuration is. But if they're a healthy couple that has good communication, there's a lot that we can teach. I like to practice something called the wheel of consent. It's very much about learning what does it look like in an interaction when we start to break apart. Who is this action for?
Okay.
Super helpful. I think so many.
Can you give me an example?
Yeah.
Like blowjob, man? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
It's for the man?
So the difference
Okay.
is it doesn't have to
Or-
be.
It doesn't have to be, but I was doing my personal wheel of consent.
Brian,
Yes.
may I give you a blowjob?
No.
Well,
Okay.
play along with me here.
Okay. I'm,
We have professional boundaries.
I'm gonna roll with it.
Yes, it's a role play.
Yes, but under what circumstances?
I really want to play with your cock, right? This
Okay.
is for me.
Okay.
I'm not worried about Like, it's not with a goal.
Okay.
It's just, I want to play in that playground.
Okay. I'm willing to do that. Just as long as you're cool with, like, I might not get hard. You might just have a soft
Not
rock.
a problem. It's for me.
Okay.
It's cool.
Yeah,
Right?
that's cool.
Whoa.
That's very different than if Brian said, Michelle, will you give me a blowjob? Then who is it for?
Right. Obviously for
Brian.
him.
It's for
Yeah.
Brian, and Brian can tell me how he wants it.
Right.
But-
Can he? Yeah, I guess
He
so.
can. I can say, no, I don't want to participate.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah. So that's the thing.
You can always say no.
Yeah, we have everything out in the open. We
Yeah.
put everything into the middle, and we're like, okay, I'm here for this, and I'm here for this, and I'm here for that. That other stuff, no.
Yeah.
And the other person gets to go, oh yeah, like that sounds really cool. Let's do those things. So like it becomes this really cool co-authorship process where everybody's invested in the process and everything's out in the open.
Question. Have you been at one of those parties where the guy comes up to you and is like, would you like a massage?
No, I want to go to one of those parties though.
But, okay.
I've been to a sex party or sex club rather.
I'm thinking about, like, this was at a sex party for me.
Okay.
Where a guy comes up and says, can I give you, or would you like a massage?
And then
Okay.
your response is, "Is this for you or for me?"
Well, at this time, I didn't have this language. And
Right.
I said, sure, I'll take a massage.
Right.
I know that he's trying to use this massage as a gateway into more contact with me.
Absolutely.
And I was,
Get into that
I
puss.
was talking to a colleague about it the next day, like bitching over like a staff meeting kind of thing. And I said, God, it just feels so creepy. Like that's the creepy guy thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she goes, you know why it feels creepy, right? And I said, tell me, educate.
Yeah, please.
And she said, because he was unclear that it was for him.
Interesting. I guess if you are upfront with that, it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Because it's like when it's unspoken that it's for him, it's
Well, notice the words. Would you like me to give you a massage?
right.
Makes it
Basically
sound like
putting the
it's
onus on
for
you.
me.
Right. When it's clearly not.
It's clearly not.
Yeah, and that discrepancy will create discomfort.
So in a relationship, that's a framework that can go in the bedroom, but it can also go a lot of other places in your relationship. It's not something that you want to practice 24 hours a day.
Right.
But it is a really fun, interesting place to start reevaluating interactions with people.
Yeah.
Now, see, that's a kind of question that I would definitely feel comfortable and have asked a partner. Obviously, my tone was cunty, so that's on me. But how do you recommend asking? I mean, obviously, like adjusting the tone, but overall, I think most people
Tone's
would
hard.
receive that like, is this, what is the intention of this as like combative?
That's where it
That is hard to say in a non-cunty way,
you
even
have
for
to
me.
do this work outside of the bedroom first. Like I learned this with a client back in the beginning of my work in surrogate partner therapy,
Yep.
where I didn't bring this concept of who is it for in a space that was not directly tied to eroticism. So when he says, can I touch your vulva? I go, who is it for? And he goes, well, it's for you, of course.
Right.
And I'm like, no, it's not.
Yeah, right.
Like, but he was so his ego was hit hard, right? So you can't, it's not the place you start. You don't
Yeah.
start in the erotic world. You start in a very basic level.
Yeah, when the
of,
stakes are low, right?
may I touch your hand? And Brian knows that I'm touching his hand for my pleasure, that he doesn't have to do anything but give me access to his hand, and that him giving me access to his hand is the gift. His body is the gift, and I get to take that touch from him. But you got to start really, really basic to understand that.
Right. Wow.
But when you do that, when you take time kind of building up those steps, you can start to develop more of a shorthand.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be this like long, arduous
course.
process.
Right,
like
right.
especially as you're getting more experience with a partner or something like that. It's really
Yeah, you
hard.
eventually develop an unspoken language too. You can have.
Yeah. Oh, and that's some of the stuff that I did in my circus work too. Like, what does it feel like to practice and have verbal communication about like what you want a certain skill to look like, but then have this nonverbal communication with your bodies where you just know what you should be doing. Like that's how we create safety with each other. We have integrity between our words and our actions. So the would you like me to give you a massage? There was no integrity there. Like there was a lot of muddiness about what the words and the actions were about.
Yeah. And that creates such a block. Ugh, gosh, when somebody's asking something for them and they're posing it as if it's a favor for you. Oh boy.
So
Yeah.
do you, I don't know whether or not you are in your own, personal relationships right now, but if and when you are, do you use this kind of language and these methods in your relationships?
Do you want to start?
I'll start.
Okay.
Like this, I am drawn to this work because of who I like to be in relationships. Like that, I geek out about this professionally and personally. And the people that tend to be in relationships with me are the people that geek out about it too.
Right.
It is very, I kind of say it's hard for me to be in relationships with muggles who think that sex and relationships have to be a certain way.
Wait, is that a Harry Potter?
That's totally a Harry Potter reference.
But what does it mean? Can you explain it to me?
So in Harry Potter, that means like a non-wizarding person.
Okay.
But in my world, that means someone who's not intentional about their sexuality.
Okay.
Right.
Right. So it's very hard for me to be in a relationship with someone who's not intentional about their sexuality.
Yeah. Have you ever fell for somebody who wasn't and you're like, fuck?
Oh, fuck yeah.
It's really annoying.
It sucks. And you're like, if you just...
You can't make somebody change,
If you just did this thing, you would be perfect for me.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
right. And that's not...
How many people start a relationship with the idea, they think this person is this idea and they're really not. Like I always say, like, are they in my playground or are they not in my playground?
Yeah.
And like, I'm in a really lovely relationship, but I was in a 20-year marriage that was really unhealthy. It included sexual coercion.
Wow.
I look back and I'm like, I hated sex for 20 years.
Oh man.
Fuck.
And did it out of obligation most of the time, not all the time, but a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And now that I have a different paradigm to work under, it's like my biggest turn on is my no being celebrated. That I can start I can connect with my partner. Not having expectations that it's going to go to sex is really important for me. And so that is such a turn on, that my partner is okay if in the middle of some touching and groping and I'm like, I'm just not here right now.
Yeah.
I can't do this. And he's like, that's totally okay. Would you like to talk about something? Like, that was not the world I grew up in. That is not my parents' relationship. That is not my previous relationship. And I can't go back.
How do you heal from 20 years of that? It's such an important part of yourself.
A lot of self-work. So I right at the end of that relationship, I found a woman named Betty Dotson. Okay. I became a little obsessed and listened to every podcast she was on. I read every interview. I did her workshop that year. By the time I got to her workshop, I was like, I want to do hands-on sex education.
What were the main takeaways for you from Betty that you learned?
That my vulva is beautiful, that they're all beautiful, that I need to run the fuck, right? My orgasm is my responsibility.
Right, yeah.
That was a big thing in my marriage, was that I was responsible for his orgasm. I was responsible for his erection. I was responsible for his feelings. I was like all these things, right?
Yeah.
And my parents had the same relationship. Big surprise, right?
Yeah.
So Betty liberated me. And then I was like, I really want to do hands-on work. I was living in West Michigan at the time. I don't know if you know much about West Michigan, very Bible Belt of Michigan. And I thought, I'm not going to get women to get naked and like show me their vulvas in West Michigan.
Maybe, but probably not.
But like, so I started this process for myself, but also was like, what do I want to do with my life? I was a stay-at-home mom. I had an accounting background. I didn't want to go back in an office. And I got to do like, who does Michelle 2.0 look like? I could make it from anything. I learned about professional cuddling. Cuddlist was just coming in the market, which used to be based out of New York.
What is Cuddlist?
Cuddlist.com. They do a training for professional cuddlers that teaches a lot of boundary education.
Damn.
It's not about, I'm going to teach you the mama bear hold or any of that. It's like, okay, let's take some time to figure out what are your boundaries? How do you help the client find their boundaries? And it's all very client led. I'm going to enforce that you ask for what you want in this session, which is really hard for people. But it comes from a place of empowering the client. So it's more than professional cuddling. But I was there in a regular way to practice holding my own boundaries, advocating for myself, having bodily autonomy. I didn't have that for much of my life.
How would you define bodily autonomy?
I get to decide what happens to my body.
Got it.
My husband doesn't get to decide what happens to my body. I mean, I feel like the medical community could use some work around this.
Yeah, they could, for sure.
Like, I get to say that I don't want to do this. And
And feel okay about
and
it.
fuck off if you think that I should do it anyways.
Yeah. Yeah. And when a boundary gets respected, it's so great. It's
I
so
want to
nice.
have adult relationships.
Yeah, you're right.
And that is what is required to have an adult relationship. In my marriage, it was a parent-child relationship. There was no way around it.
Yeah.
And so adult relationships are is kind of like my guiding star. So when I'm with a client, I want them to be able to be treated like an adult. That means they have to be able to communicate and ask for what they want and hear and no with grace.
Right.
Right? That's so.
And practicing hearing a no with grace is probably extremely beneficial.
Yeah. So I got to do this regularly in my work, which helped me heal.
Yeah.
And my therapist was like, your work is the reason you're moving through this so quickly.
Oh, yeah. That's great. Professional cuddling. If I wanted to hire somebody, could anybody hire a person to come over? You come to my bed? Like, where do we cuddle?
It depends.
In the streets?
Every practitioner is different. I know there's a big push to kind of stay away from beds because it makes people think about sexual space.
Yeah, which it's,
right? But sometimes it's just what's available.
Right.
I do a lot of cuddling in beds.
Yeah. Comfortable.
I can only speak for Cuddlist.com because they're the training I had. I also was their operations manager for 4 years, to be fair. I really love their product.
Yeah, right.
It's about, I show up in cuddle space different than anybody else is going to show up in cuddle space. So for me, it's I'm really cool with somebody who comes in and is like, I want to be entangled like spaghetti. Aww. I'm like, cool. I love meeting people and getting to know them in that space, because when you add touch, there's a level of trust that's built really fast. So for me, it's we can do that as long as you ask for it, and we know that the code of conduct is in place, which means we're going to have a certain amount of clothing on. We're not going to be under the influence of substances that will affect our ability to consent. We are, above the age of 18. We're not going to chase arousal. Arousal is probably going to show up. We're not going to do anything to encourage it.
Interesting. Okay.
Erections are perfectly welcome.
Right.
Don't hump me.
Right.
Really? It's it's common in cuddling to get erection
when your body is relaxed.
Really?
Blood flows.
Right.
Okay.
So erections don't have to be just about arousal.
Okay. Oh, interesting. Yeah. They could just be because you're relaxed.
Yeah. That's what
and many
Viagra
people
does, is actually opens up your capillaries, blood flow, whatever.
Yeah.
So that's what it's a relaxation process that gives you an erection.
But many people who are in a cuddle situation may not have felt safe and relaxed cuddling with a person before.
Right.
So this may be this really new physiological response that is they
don't know, yeah.
That is because, I'm getting non-demand physical affection.
Yeah.
That's a new concept.
Or it can be a turn on.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
A lot of people get aroused during massages.
Yeah. It's not that you can't be. It's that you can't. You cannot pursue it.
Right.
Right.
And don't chase the erection, or I think is what you said. That's or the arousal rather. That's a very interesting way to put it.
Yeah, I can be aroused as a female-bodied person,
right? And
you're just not going to see it or feel it the same way. A boner's going to come into play. What I ask is that you don't rub it against me.
Fair.
That just
right? Because Cuddlers, are you you can recommend ask for a certain type of person, if I
go to the website,
if I want someone not a penis to show up.
No, absolutely. It's not that you're ordering pizza.
Yeah,
right.
You go to the website. You go to your city,
right?
Read through the profiles,
and these are trained.
What kind of training? Yeah, there's different levels. There's a trained cuddlist has gone through the online training. Nobody has personally vetted them. They've just gone through and completed the course.
That's wonky too.
Yeah, yeah.
If it says that they're certified, it means
not
that
a chance.
Somebody within the organization has actually cuddled with them and made sure they could hold boundaries.
Okay, that's
so
good.
There's a certain structure to a cuddle session, and they want to test to make sure they're doing it the way that the organization wants it done, which is basically to say, I'm going to do something. If I'm ever uncomfortable physically or emotionally, can I trust you to do the same thing?
Right.
If the person says yes, cool, we don't have to really take care of each other. And you should know that I'm never going to say yes to something that I don't want to do. You're not paying for touch. You're paying for my time and to have a relationship with you where we get to both authentically show up in our yes.
Right.
Otherwise, you're not going to feel the connection or intimacy that you're really wanting. Now, if you come in and you haven't had sexual contact in a very long time, that first session is going to be a little uncomfortable because there's going to be a lot of feelings to work through. And if you stick with it, you can get beyond that and really enjoy just closeness. It doesn't have to be tied to sex. Some people see it as like, oh, there's no pressure here.
Yeah.
I don't have
What
to
are the kinds of cuddles you could do?
Well, it depends. I bill myself as kind of the motherly experience. Like I come in with a lot of mom energy.
Yeah.
So like I tend to do a lot of holding. Like they'll lay back against me and I'll have my arms around them, or like they'll lean into me and I'll kind of like, like you would, like your mom would.
Yeah.
Are you a mom in real life?
I have 2 boys.
Okay.
They're both almost adults now. I have 2 men. I have a 24-year-old and an almost 17-year-old.
Oh, wow.
Nice. I still have some more questions about the cuddling.
Everybody does.
How long? What are the increments? Optional increments.
Every practitioner is different. I personally have a 1 hour minimum, but I really push my clients. Push is not the right word. I encourage them through my pricing to do longer sessions. I think a 90-minute is really the minimum you need to really be able to sink into that space.
Yeah.
I encourage them through pricing to do a 3 hour. That's about the limit for me because that's about as much time as I can hold space without needing a break.
And this is just a random question. Do you tip? Do people tip you?
Sometimes. It's not required.
It's not okay.
I don't
like a massage therapist would. Oh, okay.
I don't expect it.
Just wondering.
So wait. So that so if you're doing a 3 hour session, that whole time the person's like in your grip. Basically.
In your clutches.
So we start.
That's a long. I don't think anyone's ever, nor would I want them to hold me that long.
Everybody's
uncomfortable.
Everybody's different.
You ever fallen asleep in someone's arms?
Yeah, but then you move like eventually because someone's arm falls asleep.
Yeah. And that's it. If you're ever physically or emotionally uncomfortable, you will do something to change it.
Right.
So there is no enduring, no tolerating in a session. At least I want them to practice not doing that.
Yeah.
I can't control whether they're doing that. And a lot of people, this is the first time they've ever been asked what they want.
Yeah.
They have ever been encouraged to change their mind or to say no. So sometimes I do check in with them. How you doing? Do you want anything different? Because they might need that prompt to really evaluate themselves and be like, what do I want right now? Maybe I don't like this anymore. So a 3 hour session is not getting into like big spoon, little spoon and never moving.
Right.
And they can choose to talk through the session or not talk through the session.
Do you make eye contact while you're cuddling?
I've had clients that have only come to me for eye gazing.
Eye gazing?
Yeah.
You just stare at each other. That's nice.
You look deeply in each other's eyes.
Yeah, that's so sweet. I imagine I was gonna ask, are there like exercises that couples can do to build intimacy that's kind of, without evaluating their situation? I imagine eye gazing would be one of them. But
that is a very intimate act. And some people, it's a limit for some people.
And how long do you recommend they do it? Like how do they structure eye gazing?
I would start short.
Yeah.
A minute.
Yeah.
That might be too long for some people.
Yeah. The actual gazing for me is less important than knowing when the other person is done. Like feeling free to be like, okay,
please don't endure.
I am enjoying this now. Okay, and now I'm done. And you have permission to be done.
Right.
My colleague Madeline Guinazzo often says the choice is the most important part of the work.
Yeah, because that's freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do we build intimacy? We build intimacy with trust and safety.
Yeah.
It's not actually the act of doing the eye gazing, right? It's all the other things that happen around that.
Yeah, and getting their nervous system to a place where you can both, because when your nervous systems are both calm, you can do the dance of connection.
Yeah.
So you might see there's a commonality in all of my work.
Right, yeah.
It's just a matter of what are the boundaries.
Yeah.
But it's all human connection.
Yeah. Wow. Damn.
So when you get into a new relationship, I guess, are you in a relationship? Can I ask?
I'm in several relationships.
Oh, you're
yeah.
Are you polyamorous?
Yep, polyamorous. I tend to say ethically non-monogamous. Some of my relationships are polyamorous. So there's a physical sexual component and there's a romantic component. Some I just have sexy friends, and there's a difference between that and polyamory. They're not interchangeable.
Right. Like when you say sexy friend, you mean like a fuck buddy? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Fuck buddy is like, for me, it feels
It's a little abrasive.
That feels a little abrasive.
That's how I like that to live, though. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, if you're for the fuck buddy life,
I was just translating it to my
no,
language to make
no,
sure it wasn't like a different thing
Your
that I didn't know about.
Your sexy friends are probably actually friends.
My sexy friends are actually friends that
My fuck buddies are actually friends.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
mine.
So we're talking.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no. I mean, I have actually no interest in having sex with people like I don't know. Like that's just like not a thing for me that ever interested me. But I love fuck buddies. That's great. I mean, it's also because of the line of work we're in, where we're, I think as a comedian, you have a lot more adult friends than the average adult. The average adult doesn't have 100 people that they can
just talking about that last night.
and it's strange. Okay, so how do you, or what kind of a discussion do you have about the work you do when you enter a relationship? Like,
oh yeah, that's like, that is part of the first date. Like, guess what? This is what I do. Okay. This is what I do for work.
Yeah, because that's a non-negotiable.
Yeah.
How do you feel about sex work?
How do you feel about sex work? How do you feel about me being intimate with other people? So like, there's a lot of overlap between my non-monogamy professionally and my non-monogamy in like the rest of my life.
Right.
Most of the people that are swimming in my pool are like already comfortable with non-monogamy. So that's not a big deal. But like some people are like, tell me more about like this sex work and like what does that mean? Because like there's often a lot of stigma around sex work.
Right. No, yeah, absolutely.
So the people, it hasn't always been this way, but like the people that I'm with now, like they love the work that I do. They have a deep respect for it. They're like, the world needs more of this. So like, cool, go for it. Like which
is an ideal partner for you.
Right.
Because you love your work.
Yeah. And I want someone to be a cheerleader for me. So like, it feels really awesome to have people in my corner that are super supportive.
Yeah. Nice.
And so do you it sounds like you just have how do you schedule everything? It sounds like
a lot of work.
Your whole life is basically kind of like managing and, finessing relationships on different levels.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen like the polyamory memes about like, this is what like my mom thinks polyamory is about. This is what like my friends, and it's like, in the end, it comes down to like a Google Calendar. So like there are a lot of moving parts. Yeah. And we have, with every moving part, we have to have a conversation, especially like in my relationships, about like, what are you in for this relationship? What are your relationship needs? So like if someone needs someone like a partner who's going to be 24/7, 365, there for them partner, I might not be a good fit for them.
Right. Yeah.
Like if someone wants to have a really authentic, deep friendship with sexuality, and we might see each other once a week or once every other week, then that might work well for both of us.
Yeah. Right. Do you have a primary partner or?
So I identify more under the scope of like relationship anarchy. So I don't tend to. I'm like,
so do you live? You don't live with anyone?
I don't live with anybody right now.
Okay. Well, I mean, but you have.
So I have. Yeah.
Okay.
I was married for 18 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
And monogamous?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. But
I hope not, based on this description you just gave.
Yeah. That sounds like a prison sentence.
But it took a lot of time for me to be able to be comfortable with my non-monogamy enough to ask for it and be like, this is what the shape is that I like.
Right.
So now I'm really, I'm 45 years old and just really discovering what it's like to be like, okay, here I am with a lot of freedom to define how I want my relationships to look like. Are you here for it? Like, is this something you want? There are a lot of people that I'm like, I would love to be in a relationship with you, but it just doesn't mesh.
Yeah.
And you got to be okay with walking away.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Walking away.
We're both introverts too.
Yeah.
So like, I need a lot of alone time to recharge because the work is so much intimacy.
Yeah.
I identify as non-monogamous also, but I am very much in I would say a monogamish relationship.
Yeah.
I just like the option.
Yeah.
And I also have sexy friends, and I don't like to, I wouldn't label them partners, or I don't really identify as polyamorous.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that we have options.
Yeah. A choice is the biggest.
I don't want my relationship to ever end because of a desire to be with someone else.
Yeah.
I just think there's a lot of room to be really authentic in our, like, be very honest in how we feel about people in our lives.
Yeah. And stop assuming something like monogamy. You know, it's, it doesn't have to be. But then we get a lot of people writing into us that, oh, you know, my partner wants to be non-monogamous, and then they tell us a story, and I'm like, I just think you guys don't want to be together. Like, I think he just wants to fuck other people.
Yeah, a lot of that too. It just doesn't feel, and it's also a lot of people who I don't know when you guys started into this, but like, I don't really have faith in a 22-year-old to be polyamorous. I mean, that sounds rude, but I mean, like, I've been 22.
Your brain isn't fully developed, first of all.
And you just haven't mastered, like, I think you have to kind of master the monogamous relationship, even if it's for a couple of months, and then go on to something else.
I actually am going to like push back against that a little bit.
Go ahead.
Because I don't necessarily trust a 22-year-old to be monogamous.
Right.
So like, basically at that age, as you're discovering relationships, asking yourself the question of like, what do relationships mean to me?
Yeah.
Like, do I want someone who can be a primary romantic and sexual partner? Is that what makes me feel safe and loved? Or do I feel safe and loved by having freedom?
Right.
Like, starting to ask those questions, you know,
very important questions for people to ask themselves.
Figure it out along the way.
It's possible, but I mean, I had no problem being monogamous at 22. I think also sometimes, like, we live in a society where people have decided to be too easy on themselves. Not that it should be like a challenge, but I think, like, I don't know. I'm going off the emails that we got. Let's see. I smell.
I think there's a lot of responsibility that comes with polyamory that people don't take into consideration or respect.
Mm-hmm. I think you need to know yourself. And I think,
and that's the problem with being 22.
And I think that we need to get comfortable with just creating the relationship that works for us.
Right.
And not be like, I have to be all the way poly, or I have to be all the way monogamous. Like, I work with my partner and be like, this is what feels good to me. How does that feel to you? What are your needs? What are my needs? How can we create what works for both of us and not follow necessarily all of the societal rules?
Well, and then a lot of part of that is being comfortable enough and mature enough to have the conversation, which is another thing that I've never really, and that's not all 22-years. I've certainly met 22-year-olds who can have a conversation like that. But I mean, I think there's so much communication into either being monogamous or being non-monogamous. Yeah. And, I half my friend, because I do have friends that are that young, just being in comedy, and half my friends that are that young, they're like, I think I have a girlfriend. And I'm like, what does she think the relationship is? And then he was like, this is like a conversation I had this weekend. He was like, well, she brought it up and then I skirted the issue, but I think that she could be a girlfriend. And I go, I mean, this is so toxic already. What are we even talking about?
And that doesn't necessarily go with age. Like, those same people can be that way at 50.
I was just like hoping that people would grow at a certain rate.
At a rate.
At
a rate.
Yeah. I was going to say like a good rate, but I didn't even want to say that. Like a certain rate.
We hope they grow.
We hope they grow. And I don't think people really grow and change until they're uncomfortable enough to change, right?
I know.
So if someone can fuck around and have this kind of like loose relationship stuff going on, and they're able to like move from partner to partner, and it's never been a big deal, that's how they're going to be.
Yeah.
Like, if there's someone that's worth it, that they can sit down and be like, these are my expectations in the relationship, and they are uncomfortable enough that they have to change maybe for that person or for themselves, then they do that.
Yeah, and that's a conversation I think that we have with a lot of like the heterosexual females who write in, because I think we kind of allow men often to do whatever they want as just to allow them to, like, just because we want them so badly. Yeah. So we just say yes to anything, even though it's actually not an acceptable boundary for us.
I was in my 40s before I realized that I never asked for anything in a relationship as far as structure and things like that.
Right.
And it was like, I was in a meeting for Cuddlers, and we were talking about how come these men, like, we have this strictly platonic service and they still come in and ask for sex. What is that about? The mentor goes, well, because they are trained in society to ask for what they want, and women are trained to what is the word? Accommodate or negotiate, or they don't actually. The benefit for women in that space is they never have to know what they want.
Yeah, right.
So, accommodate. That's a great word. Yeah, I mean, I think that's so true that women are raised to accommodate.
What if me personally, I'm just going to wave my magic wand.
Yeah.
What if we started to give women the authority to actually ask for what they want and to believe that they deserve to have needs.
Yeah. How do you get acquainted with your own needs?
You start asking the question. I had a practice at one time. I was in a training, and one of our homework assignments was to regularly stop and go, okay, Michelle, what do you want right now? And just kind of take I would call it a sacred pause and like check in with yourself. What do you want right now? And give yourself that thing that you want.
Right.
Okay, so like bringing this back to like the stuff that we do as surrogate partners and intimacy coaches, like I do a Sense8 body scan where I direct a client through an examination of all the different sensations that are happening in their body from the top of their head to the tip of their toes.
Okay.
In a very like slow, intentional way. So like, what if you were to do a quick scan of yourself, like as you're sitting here, what are the sensations that you're noticing? I'm noticing dryness in my mouth. I'm noticing that my butt is kind of feeling a little bit tired of sitting in this chair. So then we say, okay, well, if your mouth is dry, get a drink of water. If your butt is sore, move.
Right.
But it has to start there. You have to have awareness
Right. You have to first identify it.
And it has to start with those little things, right? You can't be like, what do I want in my life? Like,
Right.
you have to learn how to flex those muscles first and then build up.
And asking for what you want also requires self-esteem. And if you don't even know that you don't have that, and then you get to ask for what you want and you start crying and they're like, what's wrong? And you're like, oh, I guess I don't like myself yet.
But you could have a partner who could understand the value of you learning to ask for what you want,
Right.
and really help
And gently
encourage you
encouraging.
and holding safe space for that to start to be a practice.
Yeah.
Part of it is I am worthy of getting what I want.
Right.
That's something that I do with clients, right? Like you are worthy of having your needs met. That's hard for a lot of people, especially people that are socialized women, to realize.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. This has been an incredible conversation, guys. Thank you so much for, do you have any other any last questions?
No, my last question, I'll just save for my therapist. Anyway, so where can we find you online when people want to work with you? I don't know if you have availability or.
Yeah. I can be found on social media at Meet Michelle RENEE. All over the place, and I primarily I'm moving back to San Diego full time. That's my goal. So
we have lots of listeners in San Diego.
I'm here on the East Coast, but I like to say I'm based in San Diego.
Okay.
Nice.
Yep. And I'm at briangibney.org on the internet, and a little bit on Instagram at Brian Gibney Intimacy.
Nice. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much. This was a great conversation. Very informative.
Yeah.
This one?
Yeah.
This one? Yeah. All right. This has been Guys We Fcked, the anti-slut shaming podcast. We'll talk to you next Friday.
That was very fun and very such great questions.